Hello, chat. How are you guys doing? Hope you guys had a nice day. It's Thursday, and we've got one more day of Michael Amiott. Tomorrow, sorry, one more day of. God, I just butchered that all up, and we're all out of focus too. Great. Anyways, hello, chat. It's Thursday. One more day in the week. We got day 3 of Michael Amiott as he takes the stand. So, yeah, Stoney's may be late. Sean may be late, but Stoney's never late with the $2 cans. Yes. Yeah, it's very true. So we are all set for that. Annie says, my dad and I are watching. Well, here we go. So Michael Amiott is taking the stand. Here we go. This, yeah, let's get started. We got, we're burning daylight, and we're going to try and knock out about 2.5 hours of him before we get to 8:30, because that's when I want to start getting us ready for the 9:30 show. So we are going to get rolling here. Where is... Oh, here we go. Ricada Law says it's a civil or criminal case. It's a criminal case. It is entirely a criminal case. He has... hold on here. I'm going to pull it up so we can look at it here. There is. All right, here we go. He has been charged with 1 count of assault. Okay. So, chat, he was charged with 1 count of assault as a misdemeanor in Ohio. So, yes, he's accused of knowingly causing or attempting to cause physical harm to another. All right. And he's guilty of assault. And if whoever's guilty of assault, it's a misdemeanor of the 1st degree. So that is what he's being charged with. This is 100% a 100% a criminal case. He's looking at the 6 months of jail. So this isn't a laughing matter. I mean, it's serious. Then there is... And then he also got charged with... hold on here. What is the civil rights statute in Ohio? It's 2945. It's 2921.45. Okay, yeah. Sorry, I had to figure out 29. So this is the Ohio Revised Code. This is all the stuff. These are all the crimes. They're broken down into separate categories. And here they all are. So he got 2921.45. He also got charged with interfering with civil rights. All right. And this is the other thing he got charged with. No public servant under color of the public servant's office, employment, or authority shall knowingly deprive or conspire or attempt to deprive any person of a constitutional or statutory right. Whoever violates this section is guilty of interfering with civil rights. A misdemeanor of the 1st degree. So, Jello Biafra is saying, fuck that. Well, you know what, though? Hey. Yeah. Oh, by the way, chat, I spoke to YouTube. I was on, well, I don't know who I was actually speaking to ultimately, but they claim, and I don't know, I don't think this is going to help anybody, but at least I want to say I talked to them. If you're an iPhone user and you're trying to get memberships, go here, read through this, see if this helps you at all. I don't think it will, but they weren't really giving me any answers until I tried this. So go through here, click on the iPad and iPhone and iOS stuff, and go from there, okay? So just click through there. So these are the two charges he's facing. Now let's get back to Judge Reese and Michael Amiott getting ready to testify here.
You may do so. Back to this arbitration document. You will not be allowed to talk specifically about the matters that are in there.
I just have a like that moment for my clients and I change the order of witnesses.
You may do so.
Can we step out for a second?
Very sorry.
Maybe step out for a moment?
You have to do that?
Yeah, I'll be as brief as possible.
Brief.
It's the briefest I can be.
So we're going
Brief as I want you to allow you to be.
So here we go. Now, guys, this is Michael Amiott testifying. And here we go. Use my laptop to join as an iPhone user. Yes. Yes, we're going to go through that tonight. Not all of them. 3 of the charges were dropped. But hey, 3 is a start. You know, as Schoolhouse Rocks teaches us, 3 is the magic number. So, but yes, this is... This is the case. Michael Amiott's taking the stand. So here we go.
Officer, please remain standing. Raise your right hand. In this matter, officer, you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated.
For the record, please state your name.
Michael Amiott.
Sir, you are the defendant in this case, correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand, have you discussed this with your attorney where you understand that you did not be compelled to testify?
This part should not have been done in the jury's presence. This should have been done outside the jury's presence. Talking about his Fifth Amendment rights and all that, this should not have been done around him. This is garbage. This should not have been done that way. I actually have a big problem with this. This is not how you do it, Judge Reese. I am very much upset with that part of this.
Yes, sir.
You have a constitutional right not to do so.
Yes, sir.
You've discussed this with your attorney,
Yes, sir.
and she's counseled you concerning this.
Yes, sir.
And what is your desire today?
To testify.
You understand you will be exposing yourself to cross-examination.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And has anyone promised you or threatened you in any manner to cause you to waive and give up this right?
No, sir.
You may inquire.
Good morning, officer.
Good morning.
Where are you presently employed?
The Euclid Police Department.
And do you have an OPATA certificate?
Yes, I do.
Is that certificate in good standing?
Yes.
Where were you employed in Collier Night? Where did you go to the police academy?
Cleveland Heights.
And did you receive new recruit training at Euclid Police Department?
I did.
Okay. And were you a Euclid police officer on August 12, 2017?
I was.
You've been an officer.
August 26, 2014.
Why do I think he did that way? Because he's an idiot.
And on August 12, 2017, was that your regular shift?
It was not.
So you're working a different shift than usual?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you ride alone or with somebody?
We do both. On that day, I was riding alone.
Okay. And who makes that decision? Each officer or like a shift commander?
Usually the shift commander, whoever puts the shift together, depending on manpower. Sometimes there's 2-man cars, sometimes there's 1-man cars.
I don't know how to
Okay,
turn on
and
iOS. I don't know what they're talking about.
Was there a time you made a decision to pull over the vehicle where your cover was traffic? Can
I did.
you tell us about that?
I was in the area for a previous call for service. I was going to make an arrest on a male. It was basically a public intox call that we had. We came upon the guy. He was intoxicated. We were going to take him into custody. Another officer showed up, Officer Ferrito. He was training another officer. And typically when you're training another officer, the training officer wants to get him exposed to as many calls as possible. So Dan showed up. We sent 2 officers to calls like this. And I don't know if Gilmer showed up or not. I believe he was in the area because when I reviewed the radio traffic, Gilmer says, I believe he says 10 has us, which 10's Officer Ferrito. So Officer Frito left southbound, and he made a radio broadcast that there was a silver Hyundai traveling north on 222 in front of Wendy's. I don't know the exact wording, something of that nature. I was in the area. I saw the vehicle. I got behind the vehicle. I ran the license plate. Came back to a suspended driver. I got into traffic. It's kind of a busy intersection. It's where three roadways, 222. Sure.
Did you hear Officer Frito say this looks fine or something to that effect?
He did make that comment on the radio.
You didn't say that.
I did not say that.
Is that something you would ever say on the radio?
I wouldn't say that on the radio because you never know what's going to happen, and it's not anything I would typically use.
Okay. And continue with Frito talk.
How the traffic stop was made. So Officer Frito called up. There's a silver Hyundai going north on East 222nd Street. We used to do a lot of drug interdiction work. So when a vehicle is called out like that, I assume that Dan has saw some type of criminal indicators potentially on the car, some type of abrupt change in behavior is one thing we're looking for, and we're looking for guns, drugs, stuff like that, warrants. So I don't know exactly what he had, but it was not out of the ordinary to call out the vehicle. Okay. So I saw the vehicle, got behind it, ran the plate, came back to a suspended driver.
Let me stop you there. How did you run the plate? Did you call it on the radio or use your car?
When I first got behind the car, I called out the plate on the radio, but dispatch, I don't think ever came back with plate information. I do have a mobile data terminal in my car where I can run the plate on my car. So I do believe I ran the plate on my car, and that's how I found out that it was suspended. I do not believe that dispatch came back and told me that the car was suspended. Okay. Eventually, that's where three roadways come apart. It's kind of a busy intersection. At some point, I got behind the car. I don't know if I was directly behind him initially or not, or he passed me, but eventually we got on a Lakeshore. When the light turns green, I get behind him. He rolls the red light at East 228th and Lakeshore, and that's where I initiated the stop, near Dollar Bank.
Okay. I'm going to pull up the video from your dash cam and
Sure.
While he's getting that pulled up, are there ways in which a video doesn't encompass your entire experience?
Now, real quick, chat. I know some of you guys are probably wondering where we're talking about. So, this is Cleveland, Ohio, and right up the road is Euclid. Okay. Now, he talks about Lakeshore Drive. This is it right here. It's State Route 283, but it's Lakeshore Drive. It runs along, as you can tell, the lake. This is Lake Erie up here. Oh, hold on. Damn it, it didn't shift over. Okay, guys, so this is Cleveland down here. This is Cleveland. Right up the road here is Euclid. This road they're talking about, Lakeshore Boulevard and Lakeshore Drive, this runs all the way along the suburbs on the east side. And literally, it's the lake. You can see the lake down the streets. I mean, there's a bunch of little houses and stuff right there. So anyway, where he's talking about, just so it makes some sense for you guys, is he starts talking about right here at this intersection. This intersection right here is where the stop bar gets rolled through. And then they, come through and they get to East 228th Street right here. And this is where he turns and they come down up to about right here. That's about where they get to. So if that helps, that lets you figure out where they're looking. All right. So this is where it helps, just so you understand what we're looking at and all that. That's where they make Euclidean geometry, yes. Well, I think it helps. We've talked about the whole thing now, and you guys don't actually know where we're going here. So I think it helps for you guys to understand what they're looking at, what they're talking about. So is it next to Wilshire Boulevard? No. So Michael Martin says, I'm late. What's the context? This is the context of where this stop happened. Just so you guys have an idea. So let's get back to the trial.
Objection.
We'll rewind that.
A video doesn't encompass your entire experience.
Objection. Overruled.
So videos, you can't smell things through video. You can't pick up on things like resistive tension. For example, if someone were to come and pull on your arm and you simply just stiffen your arm up, it might not show that in the video. You can see some things, but you don't see everything in the video. You can't see what's in the car. You can't see what's in my point of view. There's two different angles, but it's not necessarily seeing what you're seeing all the time in any situation, not just this situation.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play a little bit of the video, pause it, and ask you to tell us about it.
Hell, you're asking a good question. Why is he testifying? Because he's accused of assaulting the guy, and his claim is it was self-defense. That I was doing what I had to do to subdue a suspect who was resisting arrest. He has to do this. He has to explain why he did what he did. And then Dry Bulk saying, I thought all cops wore body cams. This is a 2017 case. This incident happened in August of 2017, and they didn't have the trial until August of 2022. So 2017 was not a common time for body cams. Like I said, this is kind of like a filler trial, chat. We're watching this because I thought it'd be interesting. And then actually started up yesterday or the day before in Colorado was the guy who shot up the supermarket in Boulder. We'll probably go back to watching that in the next week or so. But like I said, I wanted to give you guys like a little misdemeanor trial, and this is one of them. Yeah, the cops accused of beating the shit out of this dude. That's why I say it's a police brutality versus police work. You got Felton said, why did the court system take forever in this situation? Well, the problem was that judge you're looking at is not the judge for Euclid, Ohio. The judge in that case, the judge for Euclid, recused himself. There were a bunch of issues. Then remember, there was COVID. So you had like 2 whole years and nothing happening either. But anyways, we'll get to what happens here. We'll get to what happens, Felted. So here we go.
Is there anything about this which would be different than any other staff you might have done for your career as a police officer?
It's a routine stop. The only thing is there's I don't know exactly what Dan saw, but I don't know that it's really, I just don't know what Dan saw. So I'm approaching it like a normal traffic stop at this point.
And you're citing only the things you're aware of?
Correct.
Okay.
Did they find your name or what? What's your name? Oh, you got a warrant? Oh, they keep coming off the court talking. Just give me the keys. Well, that's not this, Dan. Give me the car keys. That's it. So right this outside. Yeah, stop right now. Stop off. That's a little better.
We can hear you and see you on the screen, but what are some of the things you were observing?
Well,
what's up,
when I first go up to the car, I can smell the odor of marijuana coming out of the car. That's why I asked him to turn the car off. Just because we stopped pursuing cars about a year before this. I smell the odor of narcotics, so I want to turn the car off. I asked him for his driver's license. He says he doesn't have it.
Do you know whether the marijuana found in the car was tested?
I found out later it was tested.
And did you review that report?
I did review the report at some point. I think the special prosecutor in the case prosecuting him showed that to me, I think, but I can't be 100% certain on that. This was 5 years ago.
Okay, if I showed you to refresh your recollection?
Sure.
I'm handing the, may I approach?
You may.
I'm handing the defendant what's been marked Defense Exhibit 14. Attorney, can you identify that for me, please?
This is a Euclid Police Department form. It's from our narcotics and vice unit. They test all the drugs. The patrol officers don't do that. So anytime we have suspected drugs, we put it in evidence. And this is the form they fill out when there's a test. This is, it says case date 8/12/17. The complaint is 17-05661. That's the report number that we had that day. There's an evidence tag number. The date it was received was 8/14/17. That most likely, if I'm guessing, is a Monday because that's when narcotics would come in and take the stuff out of the evidence locker. That's my best guess.
What's
Suspect
up, buddy?
listed as Richard Hubbard III, date of birth 1/8/1992.
I'm out that
Suspect
way.
number
I'm
2,
out here in Lake
if
County
I'm pronouncing it right, Yolamar C. Tirado, date of birth 11/27/92. And the evidence description is marijuana. It was processed by Detective Alcantara, Badge 8, and the field test results were positive for marijuana.
And did you write in your report that you smelled marijuana?
I did.
And you wrote that before you even knew whether any substance had been
Yes.
Yes.
marijuana in the car?
Yes, I noted it in the report, and then on the front page of the report, Gilmer wrote the report because I was injured in the hospital. He writes that officer smelled marijuana on the first page also.
Okay. Can you go back to the other indicators that you were recognizing while you were having this conversation?
I would like to get them in chronological order, but you just want me to do the best I can, or do you want me to go through them?
Well, right now I'd like to talk to you about, at the time, up until this point, what you had observed, or what impressions you had received based on sight, smell, sound, like everything you've heard, seen.
Right.
All the senses.
So when I ask someone to turn off the car, that's typically if I'm going to get them out of the car, I'll ask them to turn off the car and hand me the keys. When I smell the odor of marijuana, we're going to begin a drug investigation. So we're going to search the interior of the vehicle typically. I asked him if he has a driver's license on him. He said he doesn't. And I think that's the point in the video. I don't want to mix up the order, but that's why I asked him to hand me the car keys, because he doesn't have an ID. I smell narcotics coming from the car. I know another officer observed some indicators. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but I just want to secure the keys so the vehicle can't get mobile at that point. I asked him if he has a warrant because just in my experience, he looks upset. He looks nervous, and he doesn't have an ID. Most people have their ID when they operate a car. Not everybody brings it every time. Most people do. So that's why I asked him if he has a warrant.
So you're not taking him out of the car for the suspended license?
Well, we're not there yet, but when I ask him to step out of the car, he hands me first he tells me initially he doesn't have any type of ID on him. Then I ask him how to spell his name, and he eventually produces an ID. When he does that, it's a state driver's license. It's an Ohio ID card. So he doesn't have a driver's license. He can be arrested for that. So the plan was we were going to take him for no driver's license. He was going to be arrested for no driver's license, give him a citation, and then we were going to begin a narcotics investigation. That's how the report was written. There was one other thing that, just in my experience as a policeman, that kind of drew my attention. Typically, when we stop somebody, sometimes you stop people who are upset they got stopped. You might stop someone for speeding, and if they're going to argue with you about speeding, as soon as you come up, they stop you for speeding, and they'll start arguing with you. He doesn't initially do that. When I ask him to hand me the keys, he starts questioning the stop. And I personally felt that was a stalling technique. He knows I'm handing the keys probably to take the stop further, to go deeper into the stop. That was my opinion of it.
Okay. Can we play a little more? Just walk us through that.
Okay. Well, I asked him why he's upset because he seems irritated. So his girlfriend tells him to stop arguing with him. And when I ask him how to spell his name, I take my notepad out to start writing his name. So I asked him the second time, I asked him once or twice for his ID, and then I asked him to spell his name. When I asked him to spell his name, he reached into his pocket and he pulled out a large stack of bills. Gilmer said they were 20s when he testified. I don't know. It was a large stack of bills with his Ohio ID. So when you have narcotics and a large amount of money, one of the things you might be concerned with is there may be weapons involved, or there may be drugs involved. You smell drugs, you have a large amount of cash. A lot of times weapons are involved there. Narcotics training, we do when we get hired here. We go up to our narcotics unit, and it's one of the things that they call it the Holy Trinity. If you have money and guns, you'll find drugs a lot of times, or it's 2 out of the 3 usually have the third one. It's one of the things that they train us in our narcotics unit here. Also, he takes that money out when he gives me his ID, and he passes it to the passenger. So when we're dealing with narcotics and people start passing items in the car, Did you say something?
No, I think my voice made a loud sound.
Yeah,
Sorry.
so that's going to raise your behavior that they're passing items. I've had narcotics rolled up in money, or just the fact that he took money out and handed it to her was odd to me. People set valuables aside sometimes before they mix it up or they run. Another thing too, if you do come across narcotics in a large amount of money, the money gets seized. So people will try to separate money from drugs sometimes to keep that from getting seized by law enforcement.
So at this point in your frame of mind, do you think that there's going to be some drug investigation?
At this, I'm going to place him under arrest for no driver's license, and then we're going to start a search of the vehicle, narcotics investigation. We're going to interview him and go further with the stop.
And now no significant narcotics were found.
The reason why he's going to search the car is because they're going to have the car towed. Because the driver doesn't have a license, and neither does the passenger, so nobody can take the car. Therefore, the car will be towed. I think even at the time, Euclid's policy was regardless, even if there was a licensed driver, they towed the car. Well, because they're towing the car, they need to do an inventory search. So under, South Dakota v. Opperman and also Colorado v. Bertine, the police have to inventory the vehicle, so they have to search it. And, they end up searching the fuck out of it to make sure you don't have valuables in the car and document everything, but then they look for all the drugs. So that's how we're doing that. Marijuana is a narcotic. Yes, it's a drug. And in 2017, it was 100% a narcotic. Brad says, so instead of getting a warrant, tow a car. Yes. There are a lot of exceptions to the warrant requirement. I plan on doing a series about each one of them. Yes. And Church Bill says, that's when they plant the ball, though. Yes. Yeah, so here we go.
Correct.
But you didn't know that at the time.
No, and I can't determine the volume of the narcotics in the car based on the smell.
And of course, you're responding to only the information you have at the time.
Correct.
So would this be the first time you were suspicious of narcotics and it turns out that someone didn't have any?
It happens routinely. Actually, our traffic stop policy talks about, in our traffic stop policy, it talks that routine traffic stops are responsible for seizures of all kinds of contraband. It tells us that right in our policy, and it tells us in our policy that we're to be suspicious on every traffic stop without telegraphing over a suspicious attitude. So I don't want to tell him, hey, I smell drugs coming from your car, can you get out? I just want to get him out of the car and then start the drug investigation.
Why did you tell me that your partner called the car out?
Because
Very true, Jim.
at some point in here, he starts kind of verbally calling Matt names. And he thinks that it's my impression that he made some kind of eye contact with Dan.
Matt is remember the guy with the beard, the ginger? That's the other guy on the other side of the car.
Something that happened between those two.
Is that your impression now or then?
I explained it to him. He said your partner looked at me, which was true. Dan saw something. There was something that went on between him and Dan. I don't know what it was. And I told him. I said, yes, he did. But you're stopped for red light violation.
There was nothing improper or secretive or clandestine about that, right?
No.
Objection to the sanction.
And so
Assistance.
I was guessing.
Strike the answer and disregard. Next question.
That'd be
I was
speculative.
moving on to another. Is his race any part of the calculus of why you pulled him over?
No, and that would be illegal and against policy. There's no way stopped. In fact,
The answer you should have given there, that would be illegal, unconstitutional, and wrong. I would never do that. You should say, I think racism is wrong. You should have included that in the answer.
and didn't make any reference to whether it was a male or female. He made reference to a vehicle. So I don't know necessarily. Yeah, that had no basis on drawing my attention to the vehicle. Patrolman Frito drew my attention to the vehicle.
Okay. What was he saying to Officer Gilmer?
He was calling him, he was saying the word hoe-ass, N-word, and he said, he was calling names. He was calling Matt the N-word, he was calling him a hoe, and he was saying, I think you can hear it on the audio if you turn it up, but he called us a lot of names throughout the stop, so to remember.
Officer, are you in fact a hoe? Are you in fact an N-word?
For everything, I can't remember everything that he said, but it's on there.
And do you believe that the calling of names justifies any use of force?
It doesn't, but name calling is what they teach you in street survival, and they teach you in other dynamics of traffic stop classes. That's one of the things you look for as a pre-attack indicator. He admits being upset. He's calling names. So I want to get him out of the car and secure him before things escalate further.
Okay, and when you say, I see that, what do you in the video? You say to Officer Gilmer, I think I just heard.
Oh, yes. So you can actually hear it on Officer Gilmer's body mic. We're both wearing body mics. You can't hear him because it's recorded on his computer. But Matt says that's a lot of cash there. I don't announce. I just tell Matt I see it. So I'm confirming he knows that I'm seeing what he's seeing. But I don't want to tip anyone off in the car that we believe that there's drugs in the car.
Okay, pause it. Slower. We're going to slow it down a little bit as you talk through it. Or check this with here. You can just talk as it's going.
Sure. So as he steps out of the car, I take his arm in the escort position, and he's going to take 3 steps. 1, okay, speed freezer, West. Okay. All right. So as he gets out of the car, I'm taking him in the escort position because I'm going to put handcuffs on. I'm just going to have him turn around and face away from me. Yeah. If I am going to, which is typical with a lot of our officers, if we're going to arrest or search the car, we like to, when that door opens up, that's a good area to contain the person. They have plenty of room to turn around in. I take his arm and I go to guide him to turn him around. I tell him, as he's getting out of the car, I believe I say face away from me. He gets out, he takes a step forward, he puts his shoulder into my chest. I tell him to face away from me again. Both of his feet are pointed at me. He takes another step, so both of his feet are even. And I told him twice at this point. And then he starts to take a 3rd step forward. So at that point, our force continuum is on the floor over there, but non-compliance with verbal commands, we would use, can we use that?
Yeah. This is exhibit 10. Please put it here. It's not up in the way.
Sure. Do we have a smaller one that I can?
Yeah.
I mean, I can. I guess.
Hanford.
You may.
Continuing defense exhibit 10.
Sure. So in the bottom left corner, we have verbal or physical danger cues and not responding to verbal commands. So some of the things we can do is officer present, verbal or physical commands, which I'm telling him to turn around when he's getting out of the car. Assist from other officers, Matt's there. And I take him into the escort position, which is usually your hand above the elbow, your other hand on the wrist. As I'm trying to turn around, when he puts his shoulder into my chest and he starts to take that 3rd step, he's not responding to commands, so we go to balance displacement. Balance displacement is a push or a pull that takes someone off balance. You have to push them hard enough to knock them off balance. And we use that shoulder to ear technique, which is taught. It's very common. So you take a shoulder, push it to their ear. You want to go more? And then at that point, he's able to pull his arm out. And I'll let the video catch up. So he gets pushed, his arm's up. Now, right now, he reaches around in front of him. Freeze it last for a second. So he pops his arm out and he reaches around in front of him, which I can't tell if he's reaching towards his waistband or if he's reaching in the car. What I find out later is I'm pulling him away from the vehicle is he actually grabs the A pillar, which would be to the left of your windshield. He's reaching in and he's actually grabbing onto the car. So I bear hug, and at that point, he's pulling away, which at that point, our force continuum allows striking muscle groups, takedown, joint manipulation, or pressure points. I just try a takedown at this point. So I step between his legs. I put both arms around his arms because I'm concerned that if he does have something, it can come back in my face. So I control his arms, and I want to take him to the ground at this point. I try to take him to the ground. I spin him around, but he's holding onto the car.
You just want to play it.
Yep. So at this point, right here, his right arm comes in front of my face. He grabs me at my neck. His left arm right now is actually a very good shot. I'm wearing an outer carrier on my vest. He grabs the
What is an outer carrier?
So it's basically you're wearing your vest on the outside of your shirt. You can wear under or you can wear an outer carrier. I'm wearing an outer carrier. He grabs the armhole right above my gun, right here. So now he's matching my force. This is escalating very quickly, but it's based on his behaviors. This is our use of force continuum. We call it response to resistance. So when you grab a policeman by the neck, we
All right. Real quick chat, the outer carrier. I think this is basically this is an AI image, but this is what the outer carrier thing is. When you see the police, they wear like all their crap on their vest. That's what the outer carrier is. I mean, there's other pictures of it. But anytime you see cops with that kind of setup, that's what that's called. It's called an outer carrier. So that's what he's referring to when he gets grabbed onto. When he starts talking about the A pillar, by the way, he's talking about that where your car comes up and the windshield comes up, you grab onto that. That's called the A pillar. The pillar next to your head when you're driving is the B pillar. And then the back where your roof of your car slopes back down is the C pillar.
Response to resistance. So when you grab a policeman by the neck, that would come up to wrestling with the officer. Wrestling is anytime someone tries to gain a position of advantage. So if you try to wrestle someone and they grab the officer by the wrist, if they're trying to get in a position of advantage, they're getting up to that level. And that level, some responses would be striking, punching, kicking, aerosols, electrical devices, or baton restraints when they're wrestling with the officer. As I said, I was trying to take him down. Now he's grabbing me by the neck. If I try to take him down now, I can fall down on the ground. I got to get his arms off me. So I throw 2 knee strikes is what I'm trying to do.
At the time, were you aware of what Officer Gilmer was doing here?
No. I did. I believe I remember him saying there's one resisting. I also know I've seen the video a couple times here today.
Okay.
There's one. Second one comes up. He grabs my boot. Okay. This is significant because he's trying to take me down at this point. I believe he's trying to take me down. What also is significant about it is I'm carrying an ankle holster on. Our department authorizes backup weapons. I'm carrying Glock 26 on my ankle. Now, he very well might not know it's there, but it's held on by Velcro. And that is definitely is heightened my awareness when he's grabbing at my feet. And there's a.
Now, I would point out that's your fucking problem. You're the one who put it there. Yes, you have a weapon in a poorly secured holster. That's a fucking you problem.
Not attached to my foot, my ankle.
Is it attached to your right ankle?
I believe so.
Well, it wouldn't make sense to be on your left ankle. You normally put it on the same hand that you're handed. Because if you're right-handed, putting it on your left ankle wouldn't be very helpful.
He's going to
Also, if you guys are just worried, he has a very, very heavy Cleveland accent.
Okay. So at this point, and when you watch the full video, my body microphone falls down onto the floor. Matt?
Is that it there that he's pointing to?
Yes, right exactly where that arrow is. That's my body mic. So my sound, I don't know if it's a contact issue with the battery. You lose sound for somewhere between 10 and 20 seconds, I'm guessing. You hear us screaming, you hear the pop of the taser, that's all recorded on the microphone inside of my police car. The windows are rolled up, so we get tased. Matt deploys the taser. I don't know where it hits me. I find out later it hits me in my right knee, in the area of my right kneecap, and it hit Richard Hubbard in his back. At the time, I don't know where I'm tased, and I don't know how I got tased. I just initially, I'm being tased and I'm falling to the floor.
Have you ever been tased before?
I have been tased before. Yes.
Okay. In a training.
Yeah. When I did fall down, though, when I fall, I'm grabbing Richard Hubbard. I have a hand around his neck as well, and I have a shirt when I'm throwing the knee strikes. And he was walking backwards. When I'm throwing knee strikes, I'm trying to pull him in. So we're kind of backing up. So I grab his shirt and I twist. And when we fall, my hand is stuck in his shirt, and I break my hand.
We'll get to that, but yes.
I also ruptured a tendon and pulled off the bone in my left hand. And I couldn't straighten my pinky finger on my left hand, and my fingers were sprained. They were all tied up. They were all hurt. I didn't know what was broken. I just was hurt. Now, I also have a previous shoulder injury. I had previous shoulder surgery on my right shoulder. When I fell, I hurt my right shoulder too.
You fell here?
Yeah. At some point during the fall, and it very well, what happens with tasers, one of the old exercises that they used to do is they have officers stand with their arms together to simulate one officer holds one end of the taser, and then the other officer at the other end of the line holds, and then everybody gets shocked in the line. Well, one problem that they had is guys, when their muscles tensed up, that smaller officer next to them, they could pull their shoulder out of the socket. So I can't say for sure how I hurt my shoulder falling. I don't know if it was the way I was holding him in the electrical or if it was in the fall, but I hurt my right shoulder. I'm telling him to turn off the taser.
Objection. I mean, there's got to be some form of question and answer here, Your Honor.
Well,
I'm sorry, it's an open question to tell us what happened.
Not 3 paragraphs.
I can ask again.
He's just like, knock it off, you two.
the objection's open. We'll ask, it should be questions and answers. Ask him questions, let him answer. Next question.
Sure, there's a little one. Can you tell us what's happening here?
Yeah, when we initially,
From your perspective, what you
yes,
felt and understood.
yes, from my perspective, and there's another angle, and I'm more than happy to look at that to try to figure out. We're kind of off the camera here.
We're gonna go through both. So
Sure, he was,
your perspective.
sorry, he was trying to, I believe, get back up to his feet. And as I was grabbing at his hands, he was kind of grabbing and pushing at my hands at that point. And I was trying to hold him down from getting up. And then I also throw some strikes here in the corner. Okay.
Let me ask a question.
Go ahead.
Why do you throw strikes there?
Initially, when we go down to the ground, well, he was wrestling with us, and he does throw a punch at me. That was just shown. But if he's wrestling with us, we use strikes. That's how the force continuum is. We also have other special circumstances that allow us to go to higher levels. But I'm throwing strikes because he's actively wrestling with me. He's grabbing it.
This is a police officer on trial for beating the shit out of a guy on a traffic stop. He's accused of using way too much force and not having the right to beat him up.
My hands. He grabbed at my foot, and he tried to take me down to the ground.
Okay, and I think we saw like a lift up. Can you tell us what's happening there?
Yeah. So when we get to the ground, and I am trying to pin him down, at one point he establishes, and it's on several times. He establishes what's called an underhook. So it's his right arm underneath. I want to make sure I'm saying this right. Underneath one of my armpits. I believe it's my left arm. He establishes an underhook. So we pin him, and that's going to keep us from letting him roll over. We're going to try to roll over, and he gets that underhook. When he's getting lifted up and dropped back on the ground, my forearm's across his face. He has my right arm. He's holding on to it, and he is holding on. He has that underhook, and he's grabbing at the neck base of my outer carrier. His hand is up towards my neck, the back of my neck, with an underhook.
Okay. Is this where you're saying his arms are holding onto your forearm?
He's holding on to my right arm, and his left arm is underneath my armpit, underneath my left arm, and he's grabbing towards the base of my neck and back.
Here.
Yeah. Yes, correct. In between my arm and my body, his arm is.
His other arm is here. Is that correct?
Yes.
So when you're lifting up and thrusting down, if he weren't holding onto your arm, would his body be moving with yours?
He was lifted up off the ground because he was holding on to me as I'm trying to post up.
And is it, when you slam him down, is it your hook for your arm? What are you doing?
Well, I want to get his arm off me so I can roll him over. If he's actively wrestling with me, this is a problem, and it's dangerous. And I'm injured, and I've got, this situation has derailed once I get tased. This is not a good situation.
And what is is that what you were thinking? What are you thinking at this time?
Oh, no, I'm in big trouble.
What is the significance of, you've got Miss Toronto coming out of the car? Is there any significance to that in your processing of the situation?
We don't know what her intentions are. I don't even know what's in the car. I haven't even got that far. As soon as I get out of the car, he's walking into me, and he's grabbing a hold of me. So it's a potential threat. It's looked at as a potential threat.
We obviously know now what she's saying, but at the time, were you comprehending what she was saying or just hearing her speaking, shouting?
I do remember her saying that she was pleading with him to stop. I do remember that.
And what was the effect of that?
No, he didn't stop. Actually, at this point in the fight, I'm not saying stop resisting right here. I'm saying stop fighting. I say it twice, and he says, "Man, get off me," and that is audible.
What are we seeing here?
At this point, I'm going to try to take the mount position. I'm concerned. He hasn't been patted down, and that's another problem. I'm concerned he might have a weapon, and I thought he was trying to step around me to take off. I don't know why he was walking into me like that, but I'm concerned that there might be a weapon present. So if I get across him in the mount position, I can at least cut off his waistband. That's the idea. So he doesn't have access to it.
This may be a stupid question, but is there a point here where you can just get up and get back in your cruiser?
No, it's, we're not allowed to lawfully do that, and we're not allowed to do that by policy.
Why?
Well, we're required, our policy says we're not to cease or desist our actions when effecting an arrest. We're not to be considered the aggressor based on the resistance or threatened resistance of the suspect is what our policy states. And I believe the law states we're obligated to make arrests when we view offenses. And the offense has drastically changed from DUS at this point.
So the level of force being used here is not in relation to a driving or suspension.
Typically don't use any.
I'll withdraw.
Do you want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Just DUS on its own, very, very rarely would that be a situation where we would find ourselves using force. Our force is always based on the suspect's actions and what we have to overcome the resistance. We need to do what we need to do to overcome the resistance. That's what the goal is.
What about physically? Are you in a position where you just walk away, like go sit in your cruiser?
You're asking me if I can? I mean, I don't think I legally can, and I think tactically it would be very bad to get off of them because outside of the situation, let's say the person did have a weapon. Now I get off of them and they have access to it, and it can lead to a shooting. Versus now, if I can cut off his waistband, I can keep him from accessing those things. Is what I would say.
And what, based on your recollection at the time, what is Officer Gilmer doing here?
He's trying to control Richard's legs initially. When we initially get down to the ground, he's kind of flailing his legs, trying to get up initially, and his knees are coming probably this close to my head. I don't know if he's trying to knee me in the head or he's trying to get enough energy to roll over. But Matt pins the legs, and I have the upper body, but then he starts addressing Yolamar as she's in the street. I think he tells her to get back. I think she comes a little bit closer.
Okay, go ahead. I think those punches are significant in appearance. Can you talk to us about that?
Overall, answer the question.
So there's a better angle of this, but his right hand is coming down my back. His right hand's up on me. It comes down my back, and it goes in the area of my duty belt. That's heightening my awareness. I don't know if he's reaching for something or if he's just trying to grab a hold of something to roll me off. I have 2 knives. I have 2 guns. I've got baton, taser, pepper spray. There's a lot of different stuff on that belt. If his hand's flailing around, whether he's intending to or not, and he grabs a hold of my gun, for example, then me and my partner are going to have to make a decision. And I can't give you so it's concerning when his hands are on my belt. It's concerning to me. So that's why the strikes are thrown. And then eventually I'm able to get his arm up and we go into what is called the resting mount, which is another trained position.
Why are you using hand strikes instead of one of the other choices on the belt or available to you?
So we used the taser. When my partner used the taser was ineffective. My experience, pepper spray up close, you spray people that are close, you're going to get the pepper spray if you spray someone close. I would identify a lot of his resistance as what I would refer to as he grabs on, he holds, and baton strikes with my injured shoulder and hand. I don't know if he would grab a hold of that. I felt that hands were the best way to do it at that point. And I really didn't want to bring more weapons into it. I didn't know how well I could hold on the hands. I didn't really know the extent of my injuries at the time. This just happened. I feel my hand pop when I broke my hand. And at some point during this fight, I'm figuring out that I can't straighten my hand out. So that's why I went to strikes. And his hands are on my belt. The fastest thing were to do strikes. His hands come off me. I go into the resting mount.
What's happening here?
So I tell Matt he's reaching down with his arm. I don't know I believe I say something about a gun. I don't know if he has a gun. His left hand is on my right arm. I want to make sure I'm getting everything correct. And his arm goes from my tricep and his arm comes down. And I don't see what he's doing, but you're trained to be hyper vigilant where your gun's at. You're trained to talk to people, you talk to suspects, you face your gun away, you blade your gun away from them. And when his hand goes from my shoulder and reaches down, I'm concerned on what he's doing there. We're trying to roll him over. He's using resistive tension. He's pinning his shoulder blades to the ground. I tell Matt, let's try to roll him over. I want to get his shoulders going, and then I can give his hips some room to roll, which he rolls over fine in a minute after the second series of strikes.
Where his hand is on your belt? Or you?
I don't know that his hand actually touches my belt, but I feel it touching my, it's going to be my right arm. His hand comes off and it goes down initially, and you'll see, I believe on the other angle, my head's looking to see what he's reaching down for.
Was that sound we heard the kicking of the mic?
Yeah, that sound is, she kicked my microphone on the floor. It's not on my body, it's on the pavement. He also,
Not kick necessarily.
yeah, my mic's on the ground. He pulled my radio off. He pulled my earpiece out of my ear. The dispatch was calling me, and I couldn't hear because he pulled it out.
Can you tell us what's happening here with this hamster?
Sure. Even before we go, before I sit up and I go to the strikes, I grab his arm, which is out at the side, and I look around. There's people coming in the street. We're trying to roll him. We can't get him rolled over. We've already used strikes. So and his feet start walking in a circle in the direction that we're rolling him to keep from being rolled. And the one thing that I feel with my legs that I feel significant is I'm in the mount position and he puts his leg flat and he gets one leg out. So I reestablish the mount. I put my leg back over his leg. Then he gets that leg out again. And that's when we start doing the strikes. And we're doing strikes and trying to roll him. And he's walking with his legs in a circle to keep from being rolled.
This is where you roll him at this point?
Well, he grabs my hand and rolls over. Me and Matt are trying to roll him over, but he grabs my right hand and rolls over on top of it, which actually helps me secure his wrist.
Okay, so your hand is under him.
Right. He grabbed my arm and he rolled over with it.
Okay, what's happening here where we're seeing him moving?
Well, the one thing that I noticed, and I also missed pointing out earlier, is when I was initially in the resting mount, I looked down and Matt's taser was laying in between me and Richard Hubbard, and the probes were still attached to us. And a fresh taser battery probably has 13 to 15 minutes nonstop if you hold that trigger down. And so I slid it out of the way, but it's still in the street, and people are starting to come up to the scene. And there's a taser there that we're both hooked up to. So that was a concern. We roll him over, and he has my hand, and I just pull, and I eventually get that arm pulled out.
Look, forward more. Sorry, forward more. Where he's rolling. There. What's going on with his head here? He keeps lifting his head up.
Well, he lifts his head up, and what he's doing now is I have his arm. He rolled over on it, and he's actually getting up on his right shoulder to keep his right arm from coming out. He's pushing his feet off the ground as leverage to try to keep me from pulling that arm out. I don't believe I have it out at this second, but that's why he's completely up on that shoulder. He's trying to keep it underneath him, and I'm trying to pull it out at the time.
So as you're pulling his arm up, his body's coming with it?
As I'm trying to pull his arm out, he's trying to roll over on his side to keep that arm from coming out.
What did we just see there?
I'm able to get his right arm out. I pull out my handcuffs, carry two different pairs of handcuffs. I carry one hinged, one chained. These are chained cuffs. As Officer Doyle testified, the good thing about chain cuffs is, or the bad thing about them is you can get injured. You can get your fingers caught in the chain cuffs. But the good thing about them is you can manipulate them more to get a resisting suspect. You can manipulate the cuffs more than hinge cuffs. So I put one cuff on him, and Matt is trying to get his left arm. And Officer Pafko comes up. He pushes Richard's head down to the ground, and then he takes a kneeling position. And then Richard pulls his head out, and he throws his left shoulder to the ground to keep them from grabbing his arm, his free arm, his left arm.
So all three officers are trying to get that other arm free?
Correct.
Okay. what did we just see from your perspective at the time?
So when he throws his left shoulder down, my hand holding the open handcuff is really close to my legs, my groin area. When he throws his shoulder down, he's still pulling his wrist. He's pulling his right arm. And he gets my finger stuck in the handcuffs. And that gap in my fingers there, my fingers are touching. This gap is where he smashed my fingers. This hand is not like that. He smashed these fingers. I had his hand actually twice, that gap there. And this hand was not actually broken, but he's smashing them in the handcuff. So at that point, my left arm comes up. It's kind of like wincing in pain. And I grab that open hoop. I don't remember exactly where my left hand was, if I was pulling for his other arm or I was securing the handcuffs. My left hand comes up. I grab the open hoop on the cuff because I don't want to let that arm get back underneath himself. Throw one pain-compliant strike to the back of the head. Matt Gilmer is yelling, "Give us your hands." Punch lands. His hands pops right out. We secure the cuffs on.
And is that the end of your use of force here?
All I'm going to say, Chad, is don't ever, this is not a good look where you're kind of arms up on the edge of the thing and you're leaning back. I think they really should have worked on that where he would have sit with his arms down. Really should have focused on that, but.
That's the end of the use of force.
Save for and you search him, right?
Well, I'm too tired to search him. Matt starts walking over to the car to look in the car, and I called Matt back over to search him. So,
Okay. What is your physical and emotional state as you get the cuffs on him?
well, I'm exhausted. My hands busted. My shoulders hurt. I was really worried about my shoulder because my previous shoulder injury, I dislocated my shoulder. Usually when you dislocate a shoulder, you have to go to the doctors to get it put back in. My shoulder would pop in and out. I thought I dislocated it. So we called the squad for my injuries. He didn't have any immediate swelling right off the bat. And when the squad was there, they checked him, they cleared him, and they told me to go to the hospital in Willoughby. It was the urgent care in Willoughby.
And did you go there?
I did. I was driven there by Officer Parkin.
We go through a little more quickly through that because we've
Sure.
done this once, but if there's anything from the other view that we weren't able to see here.
Okay.
What you've shown is exhibit what, counsel?
I think it's the first time what did you mark the video as?
That's State's Exhibit B. State's
Very
Exhibit
good.
B.
Screen.
And this is,
What was the cell phone video?
The cell phone video is State's Exhibit A.
Excuse me, one moment. I started back. We start from the beginning. Okay, pause it. If you could just correlate what we're seeing here to what part of the,
Sure, this is after the taser was deployed. We're in the corner of the screen. He's kicking his legs where I described his knees kind of coming up close to my head. And I believe he's trying to get back to his feet. You see him getting lifted up off the ground, and he has that underhook. He's reaching underneath my arm. He's holding onto the back of my vest, and that's why he's getting picked up off the ground.
and then the other view is where we saw him kind of,
Where I'm telling him, stop fighting, stop. I think I told him, stop fighting, actually. I heard 3 times. He says to get off of him.
okay?
There's his hand going down towards.
Great, so we got that. Great. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but even before that, his right hand was, as I'm taking the mount position, his right hand is on or just above my duty belt
Right there?
on my left side.
And just, if you can inch it forward for us.
Yep, right there.
Can he get down and point to where his hand is?
You may.
I'm not sure.
This is his white t-shirt. This is going to be his right arm and shoulder. His arm is up and the elbow is bent here. And he's grabbing me right above, he's got touch my lower back and the area of my belt, which is right hand. And his left hand, I'm not sure.
So this line is his
Yeah,
arm,
correct.
based on your perception of that,
That's correct.
okay? If you just inch those frames. Is that where we see him pulling his hand in? Just keep going forward, sorry.
Here's, I think right there, my radio was pulled off thereabouts with his left arm. At some point, pulled off my radio and earpiece.
And at this point, now his arm is in here.
So now he's trying to hold on to, I believe, my left arm. After I threw that punch, he's trying to grab and hold on to the arm.
So this is your right arm?
I think my right. I think yes, yep,
And
that's my
then
right
is
arm.
this would be his right arm holding on to yours,
Yes.
okay? You land a punch there as he pulls his arm, as you pull your arm out?
And then
And at this point,
he
are
tries
both
to.
of his arms here?
They are correct.
Okay. What's happening here?
At this point, we go down to the resting mount position. His hands are off my belt at this time. I'm able to push his left arm over his face, and I want to push on the back of his tricep to get him to start to roll over.
What do you mean push on the back of his tricep?
So his, I believe, right arm's over his face, so I have my head and shoulder on his arm here, and I want to push to start to get his shoulders to turn, and then hopefully his hips will follow if he lets us.
Okay. What happened right there?
That's where I look down. I'm in the resting mount. I have his arm across, and I see a taser laying there. I have no idea how it got there. I take my left hand, and I want to get it out of the area. At that point, I don't know that the dart's in my knee. I just know that I'm tased. I don't know where the darts are in my body.
Okay. Pause it. Is this, you're still trying to get this right arm across the body?
Yeah, I'm trying to get his push his arm across his body and to get his right shoulder blade to come up off the ground and roll over. He's pushing back into the side of my face with his arm.
Okay, we'll keep going. What's happening here?
He's grabbing my right tricep, right around the area of my police patch.
What is Officer Gilmer doing?
Matt,
You know at the time.
yeah, so I initially pushed his arm here, and Matt reached behind Mr. Hubbard's neck, grabbed his wrist to secure it to help turn. So he has Hubbard's wrist there.
You were trying to choke him with his arm, were you?
We're trying to motivate him to roll over.
Okay. Do you recall him losing consciousness at any point?
He was talking to me the whole time, so I don't know how he would. I don't recall that.
Okay. Okay. What's going on here?
So his arm goes from my tricep, and it goes down towards my gun sight. Watching the video, I don't know that he's necessarily reaching for anything, but you can see my head follow his hand. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what his plan is. He was touching my belt initially, so I'm concerned, and that's my gun side. So I tell Matt he's reaching down with his arm. I don't know what he's reaching for, what he's doing, but his arm goes in that direction. And
is this where we hear you say that in the other video?
it's correct.
Pause for a minute. While one of his arms is just out, why don't you just grab that one and cuff it?
Well, right here, his arm was out and moved down slightly, and I brought my knee up. We don't, typically when you're going to handcuff somebody, you don't want to pull out your handcuffs until you have their hands in a position to handcuff them. The problem being is you pull out your handcuffs, and now this hand's tied up holding the handcuffs. That's a problem. Usually you want to get, if you can, both hands secured, or when I am able to get the cuffs, I have one arm behind his back, and I get that cuff on, and then I hold on to that handcuff. But if you pull out your handcuffs before you're ready to cuff, then that's a problem because you're tying up one of your hands.
What are you doing with his arm there?
I'm holding his arm because his arm went down even before you showed that it didn't go down much. We went from my tricep down to this. In the video, he just reaches down to here, but I don't see that. I just know he goes from here and then his arm goes down. So I'm concerned on what he might grab. He's grabbed me several times, and as I previously stated, let's say he's not intending to grab my gun, right? Let's say he's not. He is grabbing me, and I don't know if he knows what's there, what's not there. And if he ends up grabbing that gun, and me and Matt are gonna have to make a decision. Matt's gonna, and I'm not saying that it would be a deadly force scenario, but it's a concerning. I don't want his hand in that area. I don't want it reaching around on that side of my body.
You don't want to get to that level of scenario.
No, oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, well. Pause it. Just walk us through. I know it's just a different view.
So as we're kind of turning and I'm throwing the strikes, he's walking outside, and that would be what you would consider in our ground fighting training is he's getting to a half guard position when he gets his foot outside of my feet, and he's walking in a circle, in the same circle we're trying to roll him. So that's why the strikes are thrown in an attempt to get him to roll over.
Oh, go back to it. Okay. When you're saying he's walking his legs, you mean right there?
Correct. He's walking his legs towards the same direction we're trying to roll him. So if he moves his legs where we're trying to go, he's not going to be able to roll over.
Essentially, this bent leg acts as a kickstand for
Sure,
rolling over.
correct.
Okay.
I believe now he has my right arm. He's rolling over while that van is there, or that SUV.
Pause it. What's he doing here?
He's trying to keep me from getting his right arm. As I'm starting to pull it out, he's starting to try to walk on the concrete and conceal his arm underneath himself.
Okay. And what are you doing here?
Once I get the hand secured, that's how I was talking about earlier. I have the hand secured. It's behind his back. I want to at least get one cuff on, and while Matt works for the other arm.
Okay.
Here comes the handcuffs are coming out in my right hand. I'm going on. That's where my hands are getting smashed, and we're switching. And now his hand is right out. As that strike lands, or immediately, almost immediately after it lands is when he pulls his left hand out and he's secured in handcuffs.
Is this where you say, what do you say to Miss Carvel there?
I believe I was talking to Pavko. I said, arrest her.
And why did you say that?
Well, it's arrestable when wrongful entrustment is an arrestable offense. She's letting an unlicensed driver drive his car. She's in the street screaming. Matt asked her to get back. And people coming close to the scene when we're trying to make an arrest is a problem for the officer. Even if they have the best intentions, it can be a problem for us. So the intention was to take her into custody for wrongful entrustment and probably obstruction charges.
Okay. Oh, we're good. So do you think we're about done getting into a court on issue?
You finished with the videos?
Yeah.
Matt,
Let's say we do that.
Any issue with them?
Not authenticity, Judge.
You may proceed.
Officer Amiott, did you require medical treatment after this situation?
Yes.
And what was that?
We called the fire department to do an evaluation, and they advised me that I needed to go to the hospital.
What hospital did you go to?
I went to urgent care in Willoughby.
Would that be Lake Health?
I believe it was at the time.
What was your understanding of your diagnosis after that visit?
I had a splint for my hand, so the tendon could reattach. I had my shoulder. I was referred to a shoulder specialist in Beechwood, and then he referred me to. Nothing was torn, but it was strained and sprained, and I believe it was 4 locations. They did tape my shoulder up. I had to wear tape on it. I had to go to physical therapy for 2 or 3 months. I had difficulty holding my right arm over my head. I couldn't hold 2 to 3 pounds over my head during physical therapy for 2 to 3 months afterwards. And the hand just took time. I think it was 2 to 3 months in a splint, so the tendon can reattach to the bone.
Okay, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit 15. Can you identify that?
This is Lake Health. It says agility transcript.
Those are your medical records from Lake Health.
It appears to be.
I'm going to show you what's been being marked as one sticker. That's Exhibit 16. Can you identify that?
This is University Hospital medical release. And this looks like it says medical history, health screening. And this looks like
Are those your medical records?
yes, sir.
Showing your treatments you received?
Yes, sir.
Next question.
Show you it's been marked as Defense Exhibit 17? Or these are your physical therapy records?
These are University Hospital. They appear to be physical therapy records. Short answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing further.
We'll take our noon recess. We will come back for testimony after that. Remember the admonition. All you're doing is storing information. Anything prior to recess? Counsel? No. Anything prior to recess? We'll be in recess.
Now, real quick, guys, we're getting good here. Michael Martin saying he got a boo-boo. He got a lot more than a boo-boo. It's like he broke his hands and ruined his shoulder. It's a little bit more than a boo-boo, chat. I'm just saying there. I'm just saying. And then we need to back out. We need to get to the next day. Now, it's only 7 o'clock, so we're going to go probably for about another hour or so. Here, let me pick up where Michael Amiott takes over. All right. So we're going to get into the cross-examination here. All right, chat. We're going to set this to normal for a second. And we are going to put on closed captioning.
Bring it up. Come on back up here.
All right. Oh, we got to turn on the sound. So we're going to also just kick this on a little bit.
Sir.
They want to make it bigger. It doesn't work for them. Okay. So I wanted to be able to see it.
Anything further of the witness? Anything further of the witness?
No, Your Honor.
You may cross. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Officer Amiott.
Good afternoon.
All right, chat. So we're now in a cross-examination. This is the city now cross-examining him. So here we go.
Officer Amiott, when you were working on 8/12/2017 as a police officer in the city of Euclid, you heard that radio broadcast that we played earlier, did you not, from Officer Ferrito?
I did.
Okay. And I think the language was, tell me if you think this is accurate. If anyone's at that intersection, there's a silver Hyundai just past Wendy's northbound, getting ready to go towards Babbitt Road intersection, if you got eyes on it. Does that sound accurate?
It does.
Okay. Now, at that time, did you know where Officer Ferrito spotted the Hyundai? When I say that, I mean, where was he positioned?
He had just made an arrest, and I believe he was going down 222nd Street. If he said he passed it in front of Wendy's, Wendy's is on 222nd, so I'm assuming he was southbound on East 222nd Street.
Okay. So if Officer Ferrito is southbound on 222nd Street, you saw that before, correct?
I did. Actually, I drove to at lunchtime through there to familiarize myself, so I figured to come up.
Okay. And you're familiar with that area, right?
I am. I familiarized myself at lunchtime, correct?
So it's your understanding that Officer Ferrito was southbound on 222, correct?
Yes.
It's your understanding that the silver Hyundai was northbound on 222, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay. If you have a different understanding at any time, let me know, okay?
Okay.
And then it's your understanding that Officer Ferrito, when he radioed this information, he was relaying that the silver Hyundai had just passed Wendy's going northbound on 222, correct?
I believe so, correct.
Okay. And at that time, it was your understanding that he said, well, strike that. You heard him say, "That looks fun," referring to the Hyundai, correct?
I think he asked about the car, and if anyone was in the area and had eyes on it, and I think I told him I located the car, saw the car. At some point, he did say that. I did hear that.
But I just want to clarify, just so it's clear. It was your understanding that the "it's look fun" language referred to the driver of the silver Hyundai, fair?
No.
Okay, clarify, clear that up.
I believe he was talking about the vehicle. I don't know what exactly he saw in the vehicle. Could have been the driver, could have been an occupant, something with the vehicle. I believe that he saw some type of criminal indicator on the car, and it was routine for us when we do interdiction work to call out a car in that manner. Dan couldn't stop the car because he had a prisoner in the car. So I did hear that, and I was assuming that he saw something in that car that drew his attention, and he asked if anyone was in the area. So I don't know that it was necessarily the driver to answer your question.
Okay. So in other words, it could have been the driver, or it could have been the car, or it could have been something about the passenger. Fair?
Potentially, sure.
Did you take that to be an emergency situation or a non-emergency situation?
Based on just that, I would say non-emergency.
Okay. So you were in radio communication with how many officers that day?
Shift minimum, probably 8 or 9 officers. I'm guessing. Could have been more.
Do you all have cell phones?
We do.
Did you have a cell phone?
I did.
Did you communicate that day with any other officers on a cell phone?
I believe I did.
Okay. Is it typical for officers to communicate via cell phone because it's convenient?
No.
You don't usually communicate via cell phone?
No, in this situation, I'm
I'm
on
not
the
asking this situation.
Okay.
Let me ask a general question. When you as a police officer are on duty in road patrol, and there's 6 or 7 police officers that are also on duty in road patrol, do you typically or not typically talk to them on a cell phone?
Not typically.
You do it sometimes.
We do it sometimes.
Why might you do it as opposed to using the radio?
If there's a lot of stuff you have to relay, if one officer's on scene, maybe it's an arrest situation. You don't want to know this situation. There might be a situation where a boss says, "Hey, can you call in and give me an update about what's going on in the scene?" You're not going to hold down the radio and talk to them for 5 minutes. This is what I found out. This is who I talked to, and have a long conversation on the radio. If the boss asks you to call in, you call in. Might be a scenario where there's one incident that ends up going into 2 locations. Maybe it's a hit-skip car accident. You find a car that looks the same. Hey, can you call in? Yeah, does it have this damage? Does it have this damage? Does this paint transfer? If there's a lot to talk about, but it is not common routinely to talk on our cell phones.
Okay, so your answer is, if it's a long conversation, then you would use the cell phone, right? If it's a short conversation, you would use the radio, correct?
I would say it'd be fair.
Okay. So on this day in question, right after you heard that "it looks fun" audio, you said 63 yes, meaning you got eyes on this vehicle, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you started to follow the vehicle, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear Richard Hubbard's testimony that he was in the area of Triangle Park at a stop sign and he made eye contact with you? Did you hear that testimony?
Yes, I did.
Did that occur?
I don't recall that occurring, but it very well could have occurred.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you hear him testify that when Richard Hubbard, was sitting at that stop sign, he looked at you and waved for you to go, and that you didn't go, you let him go, and you followed him? Question, did you hear that testimony?
I did.
Did that happen?
I would assume it possibly did. Sure.
You just don't remember the eye contact, right? Part of it.
I don't remember. I
Okay,
know.
you don't remember, but you're saying it could have happened.
Sure.
Based on the way you testified.
It could have happened, yes.
In any event, you got behind that silver Hyundai, right?
Correct.
Yes. And as it was driving down Lakeshore Boulevard, you were behind it, as depicted there on the screen on Stakes Exhibit B at the beginning of that video. That's accurate, right?
That's accurate.
That's your view of the Hyundai behind the Hyundai, right?
Correct.
Correct? At any time during the time you heard the "that looks fun" language and the time you got behind the vehicle and ran the plate, did you talk to Ferrito and gather any further information about what, if any, suspicions he might have had?
No.
Okay. Do you agree with me that at that point you did not have reasonable suspicion to stop that vehicle?
there would not have been enough in that scenario to stop the vehicle based on him saying there's a car in the area. Him calling it out. Yes, that's correct.
I mean, based on him saying that Hyundai looks fun, that's not reasonable suspicion, right?
No.
Okay. So when you pulled behind that vehicle, your objective was to stop that vehicle somehow, right?
No, not necessarily. I was going to observe the vehicle. No.
And if you didn't observe any conduct that you felt was a traffic violation, you would have followed that vehicle till it left the city?
No.
What would you have done?
Can you repeat the
The
question?
question is, if you didn't see any violations as you traveled behind that vehicle that would give you reasonable suspicion to stop it, would you follow that vehicle outside the city? Let's say it left the city. Would you then turn around?
I wouldn't leave the city, no.
You wouldn't. So just to clarify, let's say that you were following that vehicle and you observed no traffic violations upon which you believe you could stop the vehicle. Let's assume that, okay? Would you let the vehicle go if it went outside the city limits?
If there was not probable cause or reasonable suspicion to stop the car, we would let the vehicle go first.
Next one.
So you see the depiction on the screen in Exhibit B, and I'll reference it's at 10:23:55. Do you see that the light is yellow?
I can't see from here, but I'll take your word for it. I know the light is changing.
Okay. You want to get up closer, because I just want, just for a couple of questions, I'd like to get a little closer. Only because I can't make the screen any bigger.
The light is yellow.
Okay. You see when the light just changed red and I stopped it?
Yeah.
You see that it's 10:23:58
Okay.
on the timer?
Yeah, mouse there. Okay.
Okay, so the light turned red, and is that car past the stop bar?
It doesn't appear to be.
It doesn't appear to be to you, right?
Right.
What you're saying?
Right.
Okay, have a seat, thank you. Did you hear Captain Kelly testify about stop bar violations?
I did.
Do you disagree with anything that he said about that?
I do disagree.
Tell us what you disagree with.
So after this, there was talk that Captain Kelly had made this stop bar order, and he'd given me a direct order. The first thing, I've never known Captain Kelly to I didn't know what he was talking about, so I asked some guys on the shift, "Are you guys aware of this?" The guys in the shift were not aware of it. So the next person I went to,
Objection about the guys on
Not
the
responsive. Answer the question.
I'm gonna pose, let me pose a direct question to you. Did you hear Captain Kelly testify that at 3 different shifts, within a couple of weeks of this incident on 8/12/17, he told each of the 3 shifts, "I don't want you guys making any more stop bar violations because Judge LeBaron doesn't want that to happen"? Did you hear that testimony?
I did hear that testimony.
Did you hear him testify that you were at one of those roll calls, and he knows that for a fact? Did you hear that testimony?
I did hear that testimony.
Are you saying that that is true or not true?
Can you rephrase?
Are you saying that it is true or not true that you were at one of those roll calls?
I don't recall being at the roll call. I looked into this matter.
You don't recall being at the roll call?
I don't recall. No.
Did you hear Captain Kelly talk about the proposition that if a vehicle is past the stop bar, when the light changes red, then the vehicle has a right to clear the intersection? Did you hear him testify?
I did hear that testimony.
Do you disagree with that?
I do.
Okay, tell me why you disagree with that.
A vehicle, the way the red light law is, the way the red light ordinance is, it's illegal to enter an
I'm
intersection.
not asking you about the law. I'm asking you why you believe that. Is it something you were trained on?
This is a red light violation.
So you disagree that if a vehicle is within the intersection, it has a right to clear the intersection?
If a vehicle is in the intersection, it has a duty to clear the intersection.
Oh,
And
okay. So here's my guys. Okay, sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Trying to ask him, well, why? And he's like, well, based on the law. And he's like, no, don't tell me about the law. Tell me why. It's like he's trying to give you. You're asking for a legal conclusion. He's giving you a legal conclusion. I think you're stuck with that answer. I think I would have objected there if I was his attorney. I think that was a poor way to do that because now you're letting him get a question in, or you're letting him get a legal conclusion in which his legal conclusion is sound. If you cross a line, you cross the line, and that's a violation.
You don't think that the stop bar defines the intersection? Is that what you're saying?
They absolutely do not.
That's your opinion, right?
No.
So you witnessed that happening, which you described as a stop bar violation, correct?
It's a red light violation.
A red light violation, right?
Yeah.
Because at that intersection, a vehicle could do a right turn on red, correct?
It could.
And in order to do a right turn on red, the vehicle has to stop behind the stop sign, correct? Or behind the stop bar, correct?
Correct.
And then turn right, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That vehicle made a complete stop, correct?
No.
It didn't?
I don't believe it did.
For the record, I'm going to play the video, 10:23:58. They're saying that vehicle's not completely, didn't come to a complete stop?
It doesn't look like it to me, sir.
I don't think you
One more
can
time.
tell. I don't think you can tell it fully stopped there. Now, like if you were trying to charge the guy for the stop bar case, I think that's inconclusive evidence, but I also think this presupposition by the prosecutor is also inconclusive.
Can I get closer to confirm?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Well, yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, you tell me if you think this vehicle comes to a complete stop before it turns right on red.
I think it comes close, but the vehicle's moving. I don't believe that vehicle stops all the way.
Okay. And that vehicle had its right turn signal on, correct?
I believe so.
Do you want me to play it, or you said you're going to say yes? You want me to replay it? You see the turn signal on?
I do.
I'm going to let it continue to play for the record, and I'm going to ask you some questions.
You are correct. The city charged him with a crime.
I'm sorry, I had the audio off. I'm replaying it because I had the audio off. I'm sorry. So was that you saying I'll be out with it on 228 near California? Yes. Sometimes when police officers stop motor vehicles for a traffic offense, they don't stop right away, correct?
Sometimes, yeah, that's right. That's right.
And you expect them to stop right away, correct?
If they can safely do so, correct.
In a safe manner, right?
Correct.
Is there anything about this stop that in your mind was inappropriate, too late, took too long, anything like that?
No.
So you told them the reason for the stop, correct?
Correct.
You ran the plate, right?
Correct.
You learned that the registered owner was suspended, right?
Correct.
Did you know the name of the registered owner at that time?
I believe it was Yolomar.
Caraballo?
Caraballo.
And I'm just asking you, at the time you ran it, did you know the name, the sex, the age of the person? Isn't that something that would be important to you?
I didn't know. Yeah, sure.
Okay. And you knew it was a female owner, correct?
It is listed on the leads that if it's male or female.
Okay.
If
And
I
you knew
checked out,
that?
I don't recall.
You don't recall knowing that?
I don't recall. I've read so many leads over the last 5 years. I don't remember that day specifically if I looked at that or not.
Well, if you run a plate and it comes back that the registered owner is suspended and the registered owner is a female, and you see a male driving, are you saying you would just stop the vehicle knowing that the driver's not the registered owner?
No.
So at the time you stopped the vehicle, you knew that it was a male driver, correct?
I could have known. I didn't note that in my report. It was 5 years ago. I don't recall if I saw him or not. I know that I wrote in the report I stopped him for a red light violation.
Okay.
When I ran the plate, it was suspended, and I notified them that the driver was suspended, the owner was suspended.
When you ran the plate, it was suspended, meaning when you ran the plate, the registered owner was suspended, correct?
Correct.
And you knew the registered owner was a female, right?
It was very possible that I did. I don't recall if I looked for female or not. I don't recall if I saw Richard Hubbard was driving or not. I very well could have saw him driving and known it was not driving. I don't recall.
When you're making a stop based on a suspicion of driving under suspension, don't you want to make sure that you have reason to believe that the driver is suspended, not the owner of the car?
If you can, correct. If you're behind the car and you don't see the driver, if it's night, if for whatever reason you can't see that driver, but if you can obviously tell, correct, you wouldn't stop somebody if the registered owner is suspended and the driver is not the registered owner. I agree with you there, yes.
Okay. So you didn't take any steps then to determine if the driver could have been the registered owner by virtue of being a female. You didn't take any further steps, right?
Just, can you rephrase that one more time? I'm trying to give you what you're looking for. I just want to make sure I understand.
You knew that the registered owner was a female, right?
It would be on the leads, correct?
Yeah.
It would be on the leads for now. And you've asked for that.
And you said, and you said that with just that knowledge that the owner is suspended, that's not enough for you to stop the car. You already said that, right?
No, I did not say that.
Is that enough for you to stop the car?
But give me a different scenario.
If you know that the owner of the vehicle is suspended and the owner of the vehicle is a female, but you can't even determine if the driver of the vehicle is a female, in that case, do you have the right to stop the vehicle?
For our in-service training in the Euclid Law Department, yes, that's what we were trained.
Why would you say no just a minute ago?
Because you've given me several different scenarios, and I'm getting confused.
Okay, so you're confused. You're confused. Okay. In any event, you didn't take any further steps to stop the vehicle. For that, proceed right on red, correct?
I stopped the car for red light violation.
And up until the time that we just watched, you described the reasons for the stop, right? Right?
Correct.
You said, hey, how's it going, right?
Correct.
Richard Hubbard said good, right?
Yes.
You said, how you doing, right?
Yes.
We said good, right?
Yes.
I want you to see if you could hear or if you remember what he said after you said, gotcha. Do you have your license on you? I'm going to ask you if you can hear that or if you remember.
Just like you picked up
Did you hear that?
I heard something. I'm not sure if I can make it out.
Okay. You said, do you have your license on you? And we can't hear what he says, right? He says something, but we can't hear, right?
I don't know what he's saying there. Correct.
Do you remember what he said when you asked him, do you have your license on you? What did he say?
I think you want me to speculate?
No, I want you to say, ask if you remember. Do you remember what he said?
Possibly that she owned the car. I think that's what he said. I think he said she owns the car.
I'm going to I'm going to restart the video at 10:24:44. So you say, is the car in your name or her name? And they confirm right away it's in her name, right?
Right.
And then your next question is, do you have a warrant? Right?
No, I think I asked him for his license first.
Well, we just went through that. I said, did you hear him say, do you have your license on you? Then there was something inaudible, right?
Okay.
And then you said, is the car in your name or what? They both said, no, it's in her name. Fair?
Okay.
And then the next question was, do you have a warrant? Right?
Sure.
And he said what? I'm going to play it right
I
now.
believe he said no. No, I ain't got no warrant.
He said, no, I ain't got no warrants. And then your next question was, can you cut the car off, right?
Correct.
Grab the nothing, hand the car keys. That's it. Grab the nothing.
So he just handed you the keys and you put the keys on the hood, right?
I believe so, yeah. So here's the, yeah.
You saw that at 10:25:01 that he put the keys on the hood, right?
Yes.
Okay. So you said, give me the keys, and he responded by asking why you pulled me over, right?
He did, and I already,
And then you said, give me the car keys, and then he did, right?
yes.
Do you deem that as some kind of non-compliance?
It's an indicator. I wouldn't say that it's total non-compliance, but we do look for things for compliance on traffic stops like that. Very simply, sometimes you go up with your counterpart.
I'm not asking you for an example.
Sure.
What I'm going to ask you is, I asked you if you took that as a non-compliance. Your answer was, I took it as an indicator. An indicator of what?
Of possible non-compliance.
Okay. So you heard him ask you, though, why did you stop me, right?
I explained why I stopped.
Did you, my question is, you heard him ask you, why did you stop me, right?
I did hear that.
Okay. And if you believe his testimony that you indicated that you did, that he felt that he was being profiled because you followed him, do you think it's unreasonable for him to ask, why did you stop me?
Objection.
I thought it was suspicious because I told him why I stopped him initially. He didn't question it, but when I asked him for the keys, I asked him for the car keys, so I could smell the narcotics from the car. And then he started asking me about the stop. I just wanted to get the keys, that was it.
You said you told him why you stopped him, but you didn't say, I stopped you because my partner said that silver Hyundai looks fun. You didn't tell him that, right?
No.
Okay, so then with that knowledge in mind, my question to you is, did you find it unreasonable or unusual that he would say to you, why did you stop me? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. But with the exception of him asking you that question, so far, everything is 100% compliance, right?
I want to keep everything in chronological order. I don't know if the name calling is going on. Yeah, I don't know. But he's done everything I've asked him to thus far. I think I asked him for an ID twice. He didn't provide it.
Hold on a second. No, I don't want you to go on a narrative. We've already gone through you heard yourself say you have a license. Then we know that it was inaudible, whatever he said, right?
Right.
We'll get to the end, okay? But my question to you is, at this point in the video, at 10:25:01, isn't it true that with the exception of him saying, why did you stop me? Everything else was in compliance, from the stop to the giving of the keys to everything, right?
You could say that.
Okay. I'm going to start the video at 10:25:01. So, in answer to his question of why did you stop me, you said you didn't stop behind the white stop bar, right?
I did advise him that, yes.
Yes. You didn't say anything about the silver Hyundai and it looks fun. You didn't tell him that, right?
Because he wasn't stopped for that.
Okay. I'm going to start playing the video at 10:25:05. So now at 10:25:12, did you hear him say, you don't have your ID on you? Did you hear you say that?
Yes.
So you asked him two questions, right? You said, you don't have your ID on you, you got a warrant, right?
I asked him if he had a warrant.
And you already asked him one time if he had a warrant, he told you no, correct?
Correct.
You learned at the end of all of this drama that he did not have a warrant, right? You never had a warrant, right?
You never had a warrant, no.
Okay. Now you're asking him the second time, do you have a warrant, right?
Correct.
And let's see what he says. I'm going to back it up because we lost some continuity there. Does he say no? No warrant for the second time?
I believe so, yeah.
And then you ask him, why is he so upset, right?
Correct.
So then when you ask him, so why are you so upset? He responds by saying something to the effect, because I looked at you, and you looked at me, and you called my car out, right? Where did you say that?
I think, yeah, I thought he said your partner called my car out or something of that nature.
So let me ask you this. When you asked him, why are you upset? Why are you so upset? Was it clear to you that the essence of his response was, I'm upset because I think you just targeted me? That wasn't your understanding?
No.
Okay. But the words he used were, you called the car out, or your partner called the car out, right?
He does use those words, yeah.
Okay. But you didn't take that to mean he's upset because he felt like, as he testified, I've been targeted. You didn't take it that way, right? So right there, you heard some dialogue about who pointed the car out, right?
Yes.
Right. And then, right after that dialogue, you asked him, what's your name, right?
Yes.
He immediately told you, my name's Richard Hubbard, right?
Correct.
Again, compliance, right?
Sure.
Immediately, right? What's your name, Richard Hubbard?
He didn't give me his ID in his pocket.
Question.
When you said, what's your name, he said Richard Hubbard, right? So when you said Richard, how do you spell it? Meaning Hubbard, he spelled it for you, right?
No, I asked him how to spell Hubbard.
And you're saying he didn't spell it for you?
No, he pulled out a large wad of money with his ID and handed me an ID.
Okay.
And I asked him how to spell it.
All right, so right there at 10:25:48, he's handing you his ID, correct?
He does hand me an ID.
You have the ID in your right hand, right?
I took the ID from him, yeah.
The keys are on top of the car, right?
I have the keys. I leave it on top of the car.
Remember that he gave you a state ID?
He did give me a state ID.
Now, at that point, so far he's in full compliance, right? And he handed you his ID, right?
Correct.
And you have a radio and you have his ID, right?
Correct.
You asked him twice if he has warrants and he said no both times, right?
Correct.
And you could have just radioed in and ran his ID and found out everything in the world about him. Is that true?
I wouldn't have done that.
I'm just asking you if it's true. You could have done that,
I could
right?
have done that, sure.
You're a police officer, right?
Correct.
You have that ability, right?
Correct.
You have a dispatcher that could tell you that can print out a leads with all the information about that person whose ID you have, correct?
Correct.
And that dispatcher could tell you if that person has wants or warrants, right?
Correct.
They could tell you if they're a dangerous person or a dangerous felon, right?
Correct.
You have that ability to do that. You didn't do it, right?
I did not do it, no.
And you didn't, and you could have also found out at the same time whether he was suspended or not, right?
By running it through the radio?
Yes.
Yes.
You could have found out if he had a DUI suspension, which is probably the most serious kind of suspension, right?
Yes.
But you didn't do any of that stuff, right?
Right.
What you did was, you said, get out of the car, right?
No.
Okay, let's play the video. I'm going to ask you to watch your right hand where you have the ID in your right hand, and then listen to what happens next at 10:25:53. All right, you just said step out. Your left hand is going on his door, and your right hand is putting his ID into your pocket. Is that a fair statement?
I believe I'm putting my notebook in my pocket. His ID may be there as well.
If his ID isn't there, where would it be?
Could be in the roof of the car. I'm not sure. Sometimes I clip it underneath my pen. I clip IDs underneath my pen. I mean, it could be.
But you have custody and control of his ID, and you could have ran. That's the point, right?
I do.
Now, isn't it true that Richard Hubbard did nothing but comply when you said get out of the car? Is that true or false?
When I asked him to get out of the car, he started stepping out of the car. That's correct.
I meant to stop it, so I'm going back. So you already admitted that when you told him to step out of the car, there was nothing but compliance. He was stepping out of the car, correct?
There was compliance after I gave him asked him multiple times on the ID and the charges. I asked him twice each time. There's a difference.
I'm asking you, we're at a point already where I'm asking you about exiting the car. Do you understand that? Are we on the same page?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you asked him to get out of the car, my question was, he complied with that. He didn't in any way not comply, right? Yes or no?
Right.
Okay. So I'm gonna play this. I want you to watch it and tell me if you see anything different than this. When you open the door, Richard Hubbard scoots to the side in his seat. Both of his feet go onto the pavement. He stands up. He goes like that. And then when you say turn around for the second time, he starts trying to turn around. Tell me if you see anything other than that, okay? Did you see anything other than that?
Yeah.
What did you say?
He starts to take 3 steps. He gets out of the car. I have his arm. I'm trying to guide him to turn around. He takes a step forward with his left foot, puts his left shoulder into my chest. I tell him to turn around again. He takes a step forward with his right, so his feet are even. His feet are pointed at me, so I'm turning around. And then he starts to take a 3rd step. That's when I push him in the car.
Let me ask you this, and we're gonna play it one more time. Isn't it true that as he was stepping out of the car, you said face away from me the first time? As he stepped
I believe that's correct.
So as he's rising, you were saying face away from me, right?
Correct.
Okay. Then within a second, you said face away from me again, right?
It's pretty quick, but yeah.
Okay. And then, will you agree with, do you notice that his feet are planted like that, just laterally, when he's facing you, when he gets out of the car?
When he initially gets out, I would say that's fair, yeah.
So let me ask you this. If he's standing like this, and you're standing like this facing him, and you tell him to face away, isn't it true that he has to either go like this, or he has to go like this, with his right or his left foot to turn around? True or not true?
That's true.
Okay. So with that in mind, I want you to watch this, and tell me if you see, as soon as you say for the second time in rapid fire succession, turn away from me, if he doesn't indeed pick up his right foot and try to go like this, and then you slam him into the door. Just tell me if you see that or not. You remember my question?
Can you repeat it?
My question was, did you just see that when he stepped out of the vehicle and his feet were planted on the ground laterally like this, and you said in rapid fire succession for the second time face away from me, did you see his right foot move in a manner that he was trying to turn around, and then you slammed him into the car?
No.
Did you see that, yes or no?
No.
Thank you. In any event, at this time in the video, you're trying to take him down. Right?
At that time in the video, I'm throwing knee strikes.
Okay. While in the process of trying to take him to the ground, correct?
I'm trying to get his arms off my neck so I can take him to the ground. The first thing I did.
Hold on, answer the question.
Yes?
Trying to take it down.
No.
Did you just hear that pop, which we could agree was the taser?
Yes.
At this point, in its 10:26:11, the taser had already been deployed, right?
Correct.
You both went to the ground, right?
Correct.
At 10:26:11, do you see Richard Hubbard clutching his chest?
It appears that he is.
Would that be a natural reaction to, not a natural reaction, would that be an understandable reaction to somebody that's getting tased with 50,000 volts?
Sure.
Do you agree that he was probably in pain?
I agree.
So he's on the ground, you agree, clutching his chest, and he's in pain, right?
Right.
And that's at 10:26:11 for the record. I'm going to play the video. You agree with me now that at 10:26:14, he's still wiggling around on the ground with his hands on his chest? Yes or no?
It appears that's what's happening.
Is it fair to conclude that he's still in pain from or feeling the effects of the taser?
I wouldn't know
Actually,
if
you
he's
have
still
no
in pain
idea.
or not.
Or feeling the effects of the
I
taser?
have no idea.
When the taser's off, it's,
You heard testimony that it's a 5-second blast if it's not reactivated, correct?
Speculation, you have no
So it would
idea.
go for 5 seconds, true?
Correct.
As soon as those 5, I'm going to continue the video at 10:26:14. I just paused it at 10:26:18. Did it appear to you that he was still on his back with his arms on his chest, wiggling around as if he's in pain? Yes or no?
yes,
And that's when you jumped on top of him, even though it's partially off screen, right? You got on top of him.
yes,
So you got on top of him while he's on the ground with his hands clutched to his chest, wiggling around, feeling the effects of the taser, correct?
when I'm, the taser.
Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Now, right there at 10:20,
Also, chat, when I talked about body language, this is an example of it. This is somebody who's being serious and they're in the thing. He's no longer got his arm up on the back of the side.
6:22, you're throwing several strikes with your right hand to his head or face area, true?
Yes,
So we're at 10:26:35. Did you see, just before I stopped the video, it appeared that Richard Hubbard's body rises, he's on his back, right?
he's on his back, yeah.
Did you see that it appears that his body rises a few inches off the cement, goes down, rises up, goes down, rises up, goes down 3 times, right?
It sounds correct,
Okay. And you're on top of him, right?
correct,
That was just after he had his arms clutched from being shot by the taser, correct?
earlier,
Yes.
yes,
And I think it was your testimony on direct that you weren't picking him up and slamming him into the ground. It was just because he was holding on to you, correct?
correct,
Okay. So your testimony is that somehow, after he was wiggling around on the ground with his hands on his chest, and then you admittedly jumped on top of him, you're saying that he then grabbed you and just interlocked with you. Is that your testimony? Yes or no?
yes,
So then you're saying that what appears to be you picking him up, slamming him down, picking him up, slamming him down, picking him up, slamming him down, was not really you doing it. It was a consequence of him doing something. That's your testimony, right?
he's getting picked up, I'm lifting up, he's getting lifted up because he's holding on me, holding my arms, and I am putting him onto the ground. My forearm is across his face, yes.
I'm going to resume the video at 10:26:35, just for that. Now, at this point, 10:26:45, he's flat on his back, right?
He appears to be, yes,
You're completely on his chest or abdominal area, correct? Abdominal area, correct?
correct,
And you start throwing some punches at his head, correct? I'm going to play it just so you can answer yes or no. We see a series of rights and lefts coming from you against his facial area, right?
correct,
Okay. And when I just paused it at 10:26:48, right after that flurry of punches, you see that he's completely on his back, correct?
correct,
You see that both of his knees are bent and that his feet are basically flat, right?
his feet are flat,
You see that his knees are bent in the upright position, right?
Right.
Okay. You're on top of him, right?
correct,
You're not only on top of him, but isn't it true that you're not on top of him in a sitting upright position? You're on top of him laying your chest onto his chest. Isn't that what that shows?
correct,
And how much do you weigh?
203 pounds,
203?
Yep.
Did you hear him testify that he weighs 160?
I did,
Do you have any reason to believe or disbelieve that?
No.
Okay, so you don't doubt that. Okay. So you're on top of him. He's flat on his back. His knees are bent. You're leaning on him with your weight, chest to chest. At that point, do you expect him to roll over? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to continue the video from 10:26:48. Now, I just paused it at 10:26:58, and I want to ask you, did you hear this? First of all, did you see, just prior to the pause, Officer Gilmer pat you on the shoulder and say to you, "Are you all right?"
Yes.
Did you hear yourself say, "I'm fine"?
Yes.
Now, right after you said "I'm fine," as depicted on this video screen at 10:26:58, you are now on top of Richard Hubbard. Richard Hubbard is flat on his back. His legs are flat, correct?
His legs are flat, correct?
And your chest is on his chest, correct?
Correct.
And all of your weight is on him, correct?
I would say a lot of my weight is in the knees, but yeah, my body weight is on him.
Okay. And again, the question is, at this point, 10:26:58, are you expecting him to roll over from his back to his stomach?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to continue the video at 10:26:58. Now, I just stopped it at 10:27:10. Now I'm going to play it again. I'm going to ask you to watch it and see if you notice this, yes or no. Do you notice that when there's a mention of a gun, whoever mentions it, there's a mention of a gun, Richard Hubbard's left arm goes flat on the ground and he says, "I ain't got no gun, man." And also, I want you to tell me if at that time his right arm is pinned to his chest and you're laying on his chest. I just want you to ask you a question. Yes or no, do you agree with that? And if you need me to repeat it, I'll repeat it.
Objection. Some questions.
Well, if he's confused, I'll break it down.
You're saying his arm is pinned on his own chest, between
Yes.
his chest and his?
Yes, so I'm going to back it up. It's 10:27:10 right now. I'm going to back it up a little bit because I want some continuity there so you can answer that question. So did you hear that? When he says, "I ain't got no fucking gun on me, man," he deliberately drops his left arm to the ground. Do you see that?
Yes.
And did you see at that time, you still have all your weight on his chest and his right hand is like this?
I disagree with that.
You disagree with that? But you admit, don't you, that now at this point, do you see his finger pointed at 10:27:10?
Yes.
Is that the point where he tells Caraballo, "Start taping"?
I believe it is.
I'm going to play it. I want you to listen closely. Do you see at 10:27:21, as Caraballo is at the passenger door, presumably getting her phone, do you see that Hubbard again lays his left arm flat on the ground while she's screaming, "He ain't got no gun"?
I see that.
And at that time, isn't it true, you are still on top of Hubbard, Hubbard is still on his back, and your chest is still up against his chest
We'll answer this in a
with
second.
all or the majority of your weight.
I would disagree with that.
Tell me what part you would disagree with.
It sounds to me that you're implying that I'm pinning him.
I'm not implying anything, I'm asking you a question.
Yeah, but my weight's not, my weight is trying to roll him over. I have his arm across his face, not across his chest. His tricep is in my neck area, and I'm trying to push my weight into him, roll him over is what I'm trying to do.
So right now, you can't see your head, right?
Yeah, correct.
Because your head is lower than your rear end, right?
Correct, so I can give him space to roll over if it's necessary for him to do that. On
Okay.
his hips.
And which way are you trying to roll over?
I'm trying to roll him to be over his left shoulder. So I'm trying to roll him I guess, would be towards the vehicle.
And his left arm is laying flat on the ground, right?
It is there.
Okay. And his right arm is like this, right?
No.
Okay. But there's no question that you're on him, right?
Correct.
Bodily, and that you're leaning forward because we can't even see your head, right? That's true.
That's true.
Okay, so right there, you're starting to throw some more punches at him while he's on his back, right?
Correct.
That was one right hand, right?
Correct.
There's a series, you saw 5 right hands to his head or face area while he's lying flat on his back, right?
No.
How many punches did you see?
I see that many punches thrown. And we're throwing the punch. I did throw, I think it was 4 or 5 punches. I think I tried to count, I think it was 5.
With your right hand?
I threw 5 punches with my right hand, yes.
While he was flat on his back?
Correct.
And he had his left arm splayed out, correct?
No, not at the time I started throwing the punches. When I let go of his arm, he starts grabbing at my arms again.
So far, at this point, there have been a couple, I counted 3 flurries of punches. Fair?
I believe that's accurate. It's fair.
During any of those flurries of punches, did he swing back at you even one time?
When I'm throwing.
Yes or no? Yes. During the 3 flurries of punches that you threw, did he swing back at you one time?
While I was throwing the punches, no.
Did you notice that he was trying to cover up his face with the hand that he had available to cover up?
Which time?
Well, let's go through them. The first time, yes or no? Was he trying to cover up with his free hand?
He was grabbing at my hand the first time, and then he started covering his face when I threw the strikes.
Are you saying he was grabbing at your hands while you were throwing punches at him?
No, I'm not.
Are you saying that you were throwing punches at him because he was grabbing at your hands?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anywhere in the video where you could say, oh yeah, right there, he's grabbing my hands? Yes or no?
Yes, yeah.
Where?
Well, in this, right now, he's grabbing my hands.
Okay, right now.
Yeah.
Right now, we're at 10:27:37. Does the depiction on the screen indicate that you have your full body weight on Richard Hubbard, who's on his back, and your torso is leaning forward, your chest is basically touching his? Yes or no?
Just so I'm clear with the part of the video, is this where I'm throwing the punches? I just threw the 5 punches.
I'll
That's why
ask-
I just want to make sure I'm quoting because I thought that's where he left off.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay. When I start throwing the 3rd volley of punches, he starts grabbing at my hands.
While you're throwing the punches.
Correct.
So he doesn't try to punch back or hit back, he tries to grab your hands, right?
The first volley, he's grabbing at my, yes, yeah, he's grabbing my hands.
I'm going to start playing it again at 10:27:37. You just heard him say nigga bitch, right?
It sounded, I don't know if that was him or someone else at the scene. I heard that audible on the.
Okay. And then right after you heard that, you start throwing some more punches at him, right? You want me to play it again?
Sure.
We're at 10:20.
I told you guys this was gonna get good. I told you guys this was gonna get good. It's a very lively cross.
7:46, and I'm going to go back a little bit. So, isn't what we just saw a series of 4 or 5 punches with your right hand on him, and then we hear that foul language, and then you see 3 left hands from you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And during none of those punches, is he swinging back or hitting back, right?
That's correct.
And at that time, is he trying to grab your hands while you're punching him?
He was.
With what hand?
He was grabbing at my hands, and the strikes were also delivered because he
With what hand?
With what hand?
I thought he was using both hands. From my recollection.
And still, at this point, 102744 on the screen, you agree, it depicts Hubbard's on his back, you're on top of him with your weight. You can't see your head because your torso is leaning forward where your chest would tend to touch his chest. True or false?
True.
Now at this point, 102756, Hubbard is on his stomach, right?
Correct.
Right? And for the first time, do you agree with me, in this series of recent questions, now we could see your head because you've partially lifted some of your weight from your upper torso off of him, which allowed him to roll over. True or false?
I believe that's false, but
But you don't disagree, do you? That at this point, 102656, when he is finally face down, is the first time we see your torso off of his torso, right?
I think that's incorrect.
But whatever's depicted on that video, body position wise, at 102756 is probably the most accurate evidence of that proposition. Isn't that true?
I would say if it depicts me laying down in the video, I was laying down. There was times I was in what's called resting mountain.
I'm not asking you about other times. I'm asking about this time specifically, this second, this very second.
Yeah.
102756. My question to you was, isn't that the first time in the last couple of minutes on this video that we finally see your torso off of his torso, which relieved some of your weight off of him, which enabled him to roll over? True or false?
I think that's false.
Okay. At this point in the video, 102810, do you see that you have the cuffs in your right hand?
It appears that I do.
And just before I paused it, you saw Richard Hubbard's head before Pavko came and pushed it into the ground, correct?
Correct.
And when you saw his head before it got pushed into the ground, he was still, wasn't he?
He was trying to pull the arm.
He was still, wasn't he?
No.
Objection.
Overruled.
I would say
Answer the
no.
question, listen to the question and answer the question.
I'm gonna start playing it at 102810. Now at this point, you had at 102815, you had 3 police officers on top of Richard Hubbard, and he's face down on the cement, the concrete, the asphalt, right?
That's correct.
I'm going to continue playing it from 102822. And I ask you to watch it because I want to ask you some follow-up questions. Is that when you say to Pavko, roll arrester, or something to that effect?
Correct.
Okay. You've watched this video a number of times, correct?
Correct.
You've watched Pavko's video a number of times, correct?
Correct.
You've watched the Mashongo Malone video several times, correct?
Correct.
Don't those videos depict that at a certain point before Pavko came, Hubbard was on his stomach, you were on top of him, you had your cuffs in your hand, and Gilmer was assisting you. True?
I disagree. I would say I don't believe that's true.
I'm going to play. Judge, I'm just going to play a different video.
Which exhibit?
I'm sorry?
Which exhibit?
I'm going to play Exhibit D, which I have indicated Pavko getting. VKOV,
I believe so.
and is it pronounced Pavco?
Correct.
Another one of the officers.
Judge, I'm not sure why it's not playing. I'm gonna need a minute.
How much longer are you gonna be on your thoughts?
Maybe 10 to 15 minutes at the outside.
I think we're at Capcom video for you.
Sure.
It's like the Star Wars trench run, chat. Do 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 do.
Have you seen Pavco's video before?
I have.
Do you know when he arrived on scene?
I do not.
I mean-
I know at the end of the video. When he
Okay.
arrived.
So when I play this, can you tell me if it appears to be his video?
It does.
Okay. So at 1:47 on this
All right, we need to move this for a second, chat.
video, 1 minute 47 seconds. On Exhibit D. Does it show Hubbard on his stomach, you on top of him, straddling his lower back, and Officer Gilmore participating?
It looks to me like his left hip's up in the air.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, he's more on his side.
Now, right there at 1:51, he's saying something, right?
I'm sure it's on the audio. He's saying something. Yeah.
And you saw Pavco push his head down, right?
Correct.
And then you see you deliver a punch to the side of his face, right?
I believe it's the back of his head.
Let me replay it. Where'd that punch go?
I believe it's in the back of his head.
Was it with a closed fist?
Yes.
Is this when you see Caraballo start screaming the loudest, who's right here? I'm going to play the video. In reaction to that last punch?
I don't know that was over the last punch. I can't say for sure she was yelling the entire time.
All right. Well, I'm going to go back to when you see Pavco's car pull up, and I'm going to ask you if you see her anywhere in the scene doing anything when he pulls up, okay?
Okay.
You should really check out what I did tonight. Sometimes I set them up in advance.
So he's making the corner, right?
Correct.
Pulling up at the scene, right?
Correct.
And Caraballo is standing to the right side of that double yellow line, correct?
Correct.
She's still out of frame, right?
Yes.
Tell me when you see her move into the frame. In reference to your punch. Bam, there's the punch.
Correct.
And prior to that, you didn't see her reacting at all, did you? Well, let me ask it this way, strike that. After that punch, you see her pretty animated yelling, right?
Yes.
And are you saying you're not tying that in your mind to the last punch that you delivered to the head of Richard Hubbard?
I don't know that there was.
My question is, you're not tying it to that, yes or no?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No, I don't know is the fine answer. And now I'm going to continue playing it. This was after the final punch from 2 minutes and 7 seconds. She's yelling, right?
She is yelling.
Okay. And right there, you point and say, go arrest her, right?
Correct.
Did you see her resist arrest right there? Yes or no?
I can't hear what's being said, and I can't tell if she pulled away or not. That's,
Okay.
my back, I'm not even, it doesn't look like I'm looking
Okay.
at her. I mean, I see the video,
Fair
but
enough. Okay. I'm going to play for the record, Exhibit A, State's Exhibit A. So at this point in Exhibit A, at 1 minute 45 seconds, you have Hubbard's right hand behind his back and you're applying cuffs, correct? Or are the cuffs already on there?
it looks like here, it looks like I'm pulling them out of my belt, but I might be putting them on. Around my belt there, and going on, it's on his right hand here.
So right there on 152, you have his right hand cuffed, right?
His right hand is cuffed.
And then at 154, isn't it true that what you see is Officer Pavko's left hand is pushing Richard Hubbard's face to the pavement, and while his face is pressed to the pavement, you punch him in the side of the head with a closed fist with your right hand. Is that what you see, yes or no?
I punched him in the back of the head, I believe.
Okay, you punch him in the back of the head with a closed fist while his face is pushed to the pavement. Is that true, yes or no?
I would say that's true.
How big is Officer Pavko? Height and weight?
Shorter than me, I think. I don't know, 5'10", maybe. Maybe he's 220, 230. I'm guessing. I'm totally guessing. I don't know.
Pretty muscular?
He's muscular.
Yeah, muscly. Oh, yeah.
Got it.
Fifteen minutes. Remember the admonition. All rise. We'll come back at it. I can't come back. Straight away.
All right, chat. We're going to leave it on this note. We're going to finish up his testimony tomorrow. There's still a lot of cross left, and there's still a nice little chunk of things to consider for redirect. Legal Vices. Hi, Jeff. Guys, if you've not subscribed to Legal Vices, give him a look. He's covering things going on with Sandra Birchmore right now. She was the kid who got diddled by a Canton or by a Boston area cop that was investigated by the Canton police, the same police in Karen Reed's case, that said it was like a suicide, and all the scumbag detectives involved in Karen Reed's case were like, nope, no crime. So he's been covering that, guys, so give Jeff a look. Here, Norman says Legal Vices hasn't been subscribed to me, though. Well, did you ask him? That's a big thing. It's very important. Now, we got some questions to ask. We're going to get to these here, guys. All right. Michael Martin says how he was never informed he's under arrest. They don't have to tell you exactly you're under arrest, but they can tell you put your hands behind your back at that point, it's very clear you're under arrest like that. But yes, it'd be very tough. It would be very, very tough. It's a very fair argument. But remember, all the charges against Richard Hubbard were dismissed. But we'll get to some questions right now and some things that are here. Unhung Hero for $2 says, "Hi to Sean's biggest fan, Anna." Okay, thank you, Unhung. Annie T says, "So an officer can carry their own personal guns. Depends on the departments. Some departments let you carry your own personal firearms. Some do not. Some will only let you carry certain firearms if they inspect them and review them and determine they're operable. Some departments will give you a list of available firearms that are acceptable to carry. And then yes, when it comes to like backup weapons, backup weapons are almost always provided by you as an officer. You don't usually get provided with a backup gun. And typically a backup gun is like, they call them subcompacts. I wish I could show you a picture. But if you Google like the model of a Glock 26, that is the subcompact version of a pistol. It's very short. It's got a very little stubby magazine on it. Cops will also carry snub-nose revolvers, smaller semi-automatic pistols that like might have a single stack magazine in it. It's not uncommon at all. There used to be a term for this. It was called the New York Reload because it's an old cop thing. Like back when you had a revolver, reloading a revolver takes a lot of work. You have to open the cylinder, eject the cartridges, reload it. Even with the speed loader, when you're loading all 6 bullets at once, it's tough. So, and people make a joke, the Call of Duty thing is correct. It's always faster if you're shooting one gun, drop it and grab another gun. It's always faster to switch to another gun. So there are some situations where I know cops will carry 2 guns and they're like, yeah. But yes, you're generally, it's a department to department thing. So it's not as big a deal anymore because pretty much all cops have like either Beretta pistols, Glock pistols, or SIG pistols of some variation. So there isn't a whole lot of you can carry whatever you want because now, like even some of the middle of nowhere departments, like all the cops are getting red dots mounted on the slides of their pistols and they're carrying flashlights on them. So like everybody's carrying top of the line gear now. So it's not as big a deal. But in that transition period from like the 80s into like the late 90s, almost 2000s, where cops were like, there were still cops on forces who carried revolvers. Cops were allowed to carry semi-automatic pistols. Like Lethal Weapon's a great example of that dichotomy. You had Mel Gibson carrying the Beretta pistol and Danny Glover had the Smith & Wesson. So I hope that makes sense, Annie. But yeah, some cops can. KRM is a new member. Thank you, KRM. And YouTube sucks. What's up, man? I know you're on the block for me, it sounds like. It says, "I'm not understanding why he was handcuffing the guy right out of the car. At this time, weed wasn't legal in Ohio, but I'm sure it was decriminalized, just a ticket." Well, he also had a suspended driver's license at that point. So driving on a suspended license is also an arrestable offense. More importantly, United States Supreme Court case law, it's called Atwater versus the City of Laga Vista versus Atwater, is a Supreme Court case said where officers can arrest you for any offense, even if it's a non-jailable offense. They're allowed to arrest you to effectuate getting through everything. And then they can cut you loose, even if they know they're stopping you for that non-jailable offense. But even then, primarily, a driving under suspension is an unclassified misdemeanor. You can be subject to jail time. You could also be subject to, being arrested for that. So that's a very typical arrest there. And then Bob is saying, the idiot took the stand. Wow. Well, that's not really that big of a wow. Remember, he's accused of unlawfully beating the shit out of this guy. So it's a self-defense case. I was doing police work and defending myself. Remember, when it comes to self-defense, the jury's going to want to hear you explain why you used the force you had to use and why it was justified. So, yeah, he has to take the stand. If he doesn't take the stand, he's fucked. Like, the jury's never going to know why he did it. So he has to take the stand. There's no other way around it. Now, that cross did not go well for him so far, but you got to do it. You got to accept it and you got to fight through it. Bushmaster says his lawyer's got to be from Painesville. No, she works downtown. Painesville is the county seat of Lake County. Remember, guys, this occurred in Cuyahoga County, so the next county over. City where Cleveland is. Stabby's saying he was black, though. Thank you. Laguna Vista, California. No, Lago Vista. This is the case, Chad. It's Atwater versus the city of Lago Vista. Lago Vista. Okay. In this case, the Atwater got arrested because he was driving without a seatbelt. And the court says, even if it's arrestable by only a misdemeanor, it's only punishable by a fine, it's not an unreasonable seizure. So Gail Atwater was driving along and she got stopped. She wasn't wearing a seatbelt. They arrested her. That's not illegal. That's not a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, this is not one I agree with. I don't think they should be allowed to do this, but they do. Like I said, me and Shilly agree on some things, and the shittiness of that statute is something, or the shittiness of that opinion is something we agree on. That case took 4 months, and this took 4 years. It took longer than 4 years. It took almost 6 years. 2017, and then not until 2022 did they actually have the hearing, the trial. So it's a very, like I said, guys, this is a very good case. You know, all this hullabaloo over a misdemeanor. I mean, see, guys, isn't this fun? This is, you know, all kinds of trials happen. You know, at the end of the month, I'll be having a misdemeanor trial. It should be very interesting. I just got to double check something while I'm at it. Speaking of, I got to double check my calendar here. Where is... Hold on, chat. Well, we got the Leany Clyde cam up, and there's Clyde hanging out with his bull peens and his White Claw. He's just a tired dog. Is not wearing a seatbelt a mountable violation? Funny. Oh. Ag saying, well, channel, it's approaching 24 hours without power. Fucking energy. Well, hey, at least you're alive. You didn't float away. Brett is saying, should he remain silent? No, I think he has to testify. There's no way around it. Clyde Cam gets the subs. Yes, it does. Nicholas says, you spent more money on bull penises? Well, she's already got 2.0, already a big bag of them, so they exist. Clyde's bulldoze running short, yeah. So, guys, this is, and like I said, there's more to this. We have a couple more officers involved from the Euclid Police Department who testify, and then we have a use of force expert from the Force Science Institute who will testify, and that'll be the end. We'll do the closing arguments, and then we'll talk about what happened. We'll cover the verdict, and we'll talk about, you know, what happened from there. Nicholas Kreuzer for $20. Thank you very, very much. Very much, guys. I appreciate it. I wanted to end this at time because we got to get ready for tonight. We got a lot to talk about tonight, chat. You know, all kinds of cool stuff has gone on. We got Brian Koberger. We got Sarah Boone update. P. Diddy got sued for $100 million by a guy stuck in prison. A Swiss model got blended by a really cool blender, apparently. Daniel Penny, the guy who was on the subway, if you guys remember that. The guy in the subway in New York City, he's accused of murdering the guy who was freaking out in the subway car. That case looks to be in trouble right now, and there's some issues. So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. Tyreek Hill, there's a bunch of funny stuff about Tyreek Hill. What else do we got? Updates on Trump stuff. Sean Kingston is facing wire fraud charges. Trump's case in New York City got continued. Some interesting things out of Trump's case in Detroit or Georgia. Brian Kohberger got a motion to change his venue. We now know where it's going. What else we got here? Justin Timberlake is going to be pleading out to some sort of DUI related offense. Apparently in Aurora, Colorado, they are acknowledging, yes, we do have the Venezuelan gang members running around pillaging in the city. Matthew Perry, one of the doctors involved in giving him ketamine, is pleading out. And then, yeah, the guy who attacked the Las Vegas judge and jumped over the bench has pled out. He had a 2-day trial. We might watch that next week, chat, and get that going because it's only like 5-6 hours total. So we'll probably pick a day or two and watch that and kind of, get some trial, keep us going with the trials so we don't run out. And yeah, that's kind of stuff set for tonight. Should be a very fun time. So I hope to see you guys there. And that is at 9:30 tonight, especially if you are new, guys. We do this, we do the Thursday night show every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern time. And if you guys are new, my name's Sean, also known as Potentially Criminal. I'm an attorney in the Cleveland area, and obviously this is a trial related to criminal liability. Fatty Caddy says, do you think the prosecutor would like Drex to impregnate his wife, stemming for previous discrimination? Also, the defense lawyer is cute. No, and the prosecutor is actually fairly based. Overall. Just pointing that out there. Because I do know him. It's just a situation the state believes he went too far. So, Clyde always looks so concerned. He does. He always looks concerned. That's a problem. Clyde always looks like he's sad. Ali saying what he went too far based on, they believe that he was beating him and he didn't have a right to at that point. Like the guy, as the prosecutor said, he's on his back and he's got his hands up like this. Does it look like he's still shaking from the taser? Yeah, so you still beat the shit out of him. So I don't like I can see it both ways right now. I think it's very easy to see this case one way or another. This isn't like Tyreek Hill where it's very clear cut. Oh, you're saying no, that was a base joke. Oh, sorry. Based on what? Sorry. Oh, you're using the Paul Harrell thing where Ian's like, this is base, and he's like, based on what? This guy sucks, so defensive necessity. Well, EP Clyde. No, he's not even EP. He'll be fired up in a second. Hold on, let me see if I can get him fired up. Clyde. Yeah, see? Fatty Kitty says, I see what I see. Hopefully I hope his wife isn't. Okay, well, I don't. He's actually a very nice guy. Very fair prosecutor to deal with. Clyde, come here, bub. Come here. The people want you. Come here, Bubba. Come on. Come on. Not time to eat. Come here. Come here, Clyde. All right, well, Clyde is Sean's twin, a little bit. Fatty K says, read my chat. I just did read your chat. I just read this. I literally said, I see what I see. Hope his wife is unfaithful. And I said, no, he's a nice guy. I don't want that for him. So I read your chat. You paid for the whole thing, yes. Did a Haitian eat Clyde? No. Is that Clyde's one hitter? No, that is a bull penis. A desiccated bull penis put inside of a holder so he doesn't choke on the last bit of it. Did you already cover Tyreek? No, we're covering him tonight. We've got the whole body cam, so we're set. We got that. We also got his touchdown celebration he did on Sunday, and then the response from the Patrolmen's Benevolent Association. So, yes. But no, Haitian did not eat Clyde. Clyde, come here, buddy. Come on. Come on. Come here. Dude. Dude, come on. Come on, Clyde. Come on, buddy. Well, he just told us to screw off again. Do the Haitians steal sandwiches? No. You need proof of life. Well, I don't know what to tell you. 2.0 is going to... They want to see him on camera. Well, I stopped calling him, so you can call him. Clyde wants a glass rose. Yeah, well, we have to cook the cocaine in a Pyrex pan, too, while we're at it. So, all right, chat. So we are all set. I think we're all caught up on everything here. If you guys have any other, like I said, we will finish this up tomorrow. Should be pretty fun and knock out this. And then there's another couple hours and then the closing arguments. And we'll wrap up the saga very quickly. Like I said, it's a very interesting saga, what happens here. Oh, there's 2.0's hands. Sorry, no feed for you guys. Oh, Fatty Ketty, you're saying also the defense lawyer is cute. Well, if I see her anytime soon, I'll tell her that you think she's cute. Sarah Boone's ninth lawyer says, I need more Sarah Boone. Oh, you'll get more Sarah Boone. All right, guys, you're not going to get Clyde right now. Oh, there he is. There he is. Come on. Why are you out of focus for me? Come on, focus. Focus. So. Oh. Is she single? I don't know. All right, guys, so we're all set. We're going to take a little break till 9:30. I will see you guys then. We are all set and ready to rock. And until then, guys, remember, until next time, just because you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. That includes Michael Amiott. He's still not guilty. Still not guilty, chat. So I'll see you guys in about a half hour. Actually, 45 minutes.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking.
Robin, we'll probably start around 6 o'clock again, like we've done already. Yeah, about 6 o'clock. So, hope that answered your question.
Hunting and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops. Even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy?